Evening, everybody. I'm happy to be back with Terra Invicta, but I don't think I could have asked for less ideal circumstances. I am very, very tired, and it feels like it's been that way for a couple of, or for streams for the last week or so. But I did do, I think it was Against the Storm last week, if I recall correctly, and there's a side of me that wants to say, maybe we set aside Terra Invicta until I'm in a better frame of mind. But the thing is, that excuse is always going to exist, and the longer I delay playing a game, the more I'm going to forget and have trouble with it. So I wanted to just preface this by saying it just occurred to me this will be the first time I play it on the new computer as well. I just wanted to preface it by saying I am doing another one of these, like, if I completely blow up the run, I'll just revert to an old save on it. I'm not going to do that for every I'm not going to do that for every session that I play. Like, I think it's nice to have some consequences. Hey, how you doing, Algrins? But I don't know, like, I do also think it's like I need to acknowledge the circumstances under which I play my games sometimes, and in this particular case, I'm definitely feeling like I'm running on empty, and it's it's Monday, for crying out loud. So, but with that in mind, we can talk a bit about Terra Invicta and why I'm playing it, and I don't know, all the other details. There's actually two big reasons why I'm playing this. Number one, I was given a key from Hooded Horse to sort of help promote the game, one of those press key things. But I was also a Kickstarter backer on this game, so it's one I've really been looking forward to. Oddly enough, I have not actually played that much of Long War. Actually, I don't think I've ever played Long War, now that I think of it. But I'm definitely interested in Terra Invicta, and I'm definitely interested in just the work that Pavonis is doing. And in fact, Pavonis was probably my first exposure to Hooded Horse, and then the next thing that I saw Hooded Horse attached to was Old World, which was another game that I was both very interested in and had enjoyed. I'm wondering if I'll see... I don't even know... It doesn't look like the names are... It doesn't... I don't think it... The names are in alphabetical order on this. I definitely wasn't a Kickstarter playtester. Anyways, I can look for my name and after actually can't even remember what tier that was for. Anyways, neither here nor there. So, in addition to just sort of wasting time at the start, there is a purpose for this. It is good to say when you've been given a copy of something for promotional purposes, depending on the region that you live in, that is actually a requirement. But more importantly, I think it's just a good thing. I mean, like, to be honest with you, if the FTC is going to be coming down hard on someone like me, it means that the States is even more screwed than you think it is. They have other things to deal with. And of course, I'm in Canada, so they have no jurisdiction over me anyway, but we do also have a competition bureau and... Well, competition bureau. Is it competition? Or maybe it'd be the CRTC if it was communications. But either way, the worry is not necessarily that I'm just going to have some government entity come down and crush me from 10,000 feet. Like, there's frankly better things for these people to be doing. But with that in mind, it is nice to take this seriously, and I would certainly expect people who are handing out keys would like you to take it seriously as well. So I am very enthusiastic about this game. I am enthusiastic about most games that I play, but with that in mind, please keep in mind that I was in fact given something to, the key to do it. And of course, even as a Kickstarter backer, I would have wound up with a key anyway. But it does sort of give you an indication that I was already inclined towards being interested in this game ahead of time. I am really curious. There's a lot of people who back this, so I've been trying to run the clock out, but I'll maybe give it this one last batch, and then we can move on. The funny thing is, I think this might actually be the first or second time I've actually looked in a game that I kickstarted. I guess I didn't kickstart it. I backed. If you're kickstarting it, I guess you're the one who's doing the Kickstarter. Anyways, I almost never look for it, and I'm trying to remember if one, I was on a tier that does give a credit, because I'm pretty sure most, if not all of them, did. And then second, I can't remember if I filled out the I must have. Yes, as the Pride Fist. I actually don't remember if... Yeah, I also don't remember if it would be the Kickstarter name, or my real name, or my Twitch name. If I was thinking, it would be my Twitch name, because obviously people will always go in and look at the Kickstarter backers and say, "Why, Kyle Dugan? I wonder if they've got a Twitch channel. I should go take a look. Surely they'll be playing a game that I enjoy, and they'll have the type of broadcast that's interesting to me." Man, a lot of people back this. Why do they need a publisher? Vanguard Master, how you doing? That's not a serious question, by the way. I'm not that big of an idiot on game development. I'm definitely feeling like this is not a good use of stream time. Again, I do need to apologize for this. I am really feeling, I really am feeling the consequences of not having had enough sleep. So I'm trying to just give my tea a second to cool down to a well, I could probably sip it now, but I don't want to like sip it straight into the microphone. But I need a second before I jump in, and it's nice to just give people a chance to kind of come in and stop by. I was debating on doing a few more Snats things tonight, but like I said, the big God, I'm trying to remember where that name. I definitely follow him on Twitter. Is it Good Shepherd that he's with? I don't know. There's a lot of this is one of the things I like about reading the Kickstarter names. I am not translating the hex as much as I'd be interested to try and do so. One of the things that's kind of nice about this is every once in a while you'll see names that are familiar. So, for instance, Mike Laidlaw was up there higher, ex-BioWare. I'm pretty sure he was a writer. I think he had some kind of a lead role on one of the Dragon Age games, but I haven't played them, so. Cthulhu the Great Dreamer backing at the base here. Actually, what would be funny is, I think it's Tim Benders, the founder of Hooded Horse, so what would be funny is if you get to see a Tim Bender in the list of backer credits alongside, lead producer and CEO of Hooded Horse. But yeah, it is a little funny to do this at the start of a game. I mean, it depends whether or not the game gives you a credit sequence at the end. I feel like narrative games kind of get away with it, but if you're playing, say if you're playing Civilization, after you've finished your session, right? Like you've got your victory. Let's say you get a science victory or something like that. Are you really going to sit around and look at the credits? If you're playing like Mass Effect, at the very least there, you're going to want... It's a little bit like credits, after a TV show or after a movie. Like, it's nice to have a moment of reflection after the after the experience that you've had. It's actually one of the reasons I don't really like hearing the talking over credits, although I know that's more of a thing now. Just again, everybody's trying to get your attention, so you can't have a moment's silence. But yeah, for strategy games, it's a bit of an odd spot. Actually, one game that did this well was Into the Breach, now that I think of it. Because at the end of Into the Breach, after the big, the big final battle, there's that nice moment of the credits, even though the design of that is very much intended to be, you just roll straight into the next, the next entry. But in addition to just like the moment of reflection or whatever, one of the things that's kind of neat about going over credits is that you get to find some fun details in the like names that you might be familiar with. Like, so here's an example I'll give you from this, and this is XCOM related, and then we can load into the game at least. Oh, is there no cloud save for this? God, I didn't even think that would be a possibility. I spent so much time trying to save the Cultist Simulator stuff that I didn't even think that the other stuff I was streaming... I'm just going to do a quick verify integrity. I mean, it's not the end of the world. I'll probably try and rush through... Actually, what I feel really bad about is, like, it's been 10 minutes of just sort of, getting to know everyone. Oh, sorry, Vanguard Master. This was the Terra Invicta Kickstarter. No, that's there. Cloud status up to date. Yeah, I guess so. It does say cloud status, but I don't know what to make of that. Well, we don't have a continue, so I mean, look, no reason getting upset about it. I'm gonna change the title though. Just give me a second here. Okay, yeah. So my apologies. I actually have noticed that people do seem to like Terra Invicta on the YouTube stuff, which means I probably should have acknowledged that at the Hey Kite, how you doing? Let me take a quick second here to shout out Kite26. I almost want to change the game because you're here, Kite, but I know better than to do that. Actually, I guess I get to use the fancy. Hey, if you want to see Terra Invicta, I'm just as happy to support that. But there's a couple of games that I've never played that I think you'd really like that I would do. But no, I announced I was going to do Terra Invicta. I'm gonna stream Terra Invicta. But for those of you who don't know him, Kite is a wonderful streamer international man of mystery. Every time I wind up talking with him, he's just finished helping people in remote parts of the world, or remote parts of his home country, or remote parts of the universe. I actually think, okay, out of the people who hang around this chat, I suspect Kite is probably the most likely person to wind up being a counselor in Terra Invicta. Is this like a colonization game? No, it's actually, I suppose, an anti-colonization game, now that you think of it. The premise behind this game, you've probably seen XCOM. So the idea about this game is that there's an opening cinematic which will tell you what's up. So let's start with that, and then I will explain what's going on afterwards. Because one thing I want to do is do a quick review of the wiki. Here's the thing, right? It sucks that we don't get to continue on with the previous save, and it does mean that there's going to be some overlap for stuff I've covered before, but it is a nice comparison, both in terms of what we've learned from our previous efforts, as well as trying to, as well as seeing how the wiki's developed now that there's been some community efforts. No way, you could not unless I was the face and you're right, helping with stuff. All right. But yeah, sorry, that was a crappy shout out for Kite. Kite is a very nice, very talented broadcaster, a great guy to hang out with in his channel, but someone who has got just a whole bag of tricks in terms of things that he's good at. So I knew him as just this very nice and charismatic broadcaster, somebody who, you know, I could imagine being a great mod in any community that he's a member of. But on top of that, he is really into fitness and is actually one of the people. So I kind of imagine that, like, I never really go to public gyms, but I always imagine that he would be the kind of guy who would see someone struggling and in just like the nicest way and most non-judgmental way, like help someone, you know, get on track and being able to take on, take on the challenge and find their feet. But on top of that, he has got musical ability. He's learning to play the piano, he sings, and he's done both on stream. And I've had piano lessons. He's better than I am. Kite is someone who continues to surprise and delight in both his character but his talents as well. And so that's one of the reasons why I want to take the time to shout him out. I hope you all took the opportunity to follow when that thing was up on the screen. If not, please click his name and hit the follow button. Alright, for your first game, it is recommended to play as the Resistance faction with the tutorial enabled. Well, sure, I'll do that, and we'll go for the normal difficulty. So, I believe the scenarios may be delayed till after release now, but we're going to just do the usual setup. We're starting in 2022, there's 350 space objects with a higher performance impact, but we have a new computer! And the factions that are here will resist. They're members of the aliens: submit, exploit, escape, cooperate, destroy, or appease. Don't want people hurting themselves. Form follows function, after all. Yeah, I definitely know that. It's why I always lift with my back. It's what strong men do, right? Alright, so I'm going to let the game explain itself to you first, Kite, and then I will fill in the gaps.
We remember the day the stars answered, the day we learned we were not alone. As a familiar sun rose on an unfamiliar universe, some of us saw wondrous possibility and others existential danger. The astronomers had insisted that the bright streak in the sky was no natural phenomenon, Most of us didn't really believe them until it burned through our atmosphere and crashed in a remote region, leaving only wreckage and uncertainty. In our ignorance, we fractured, taking refuge in our most primal emotions. Each of us saw what we wanted to see. Everyone loves heroes, depends on them, to save us from evil, lead us through darkness. Problem is, real heroes are always ignored. What no one understands is that being shot at is easy. The hard part is convincing someone they're drowning before it's too damn late.
Tutorial launched. Hey, we got a Canadian for our first counselor. Welcome to the tutorial for Terra Invicta. This is the beginning of a standard playthrough of the game at the difficulty you selected. The tutorial has two primary components, which function independently of each other. 1. A set of objectives to guide you through key aspects of gameplay. Some of these objectives may take years to accomplish. Specific steps to accomplish these objectives appear on the top of the screen. These will appear alongside your regular campaign objectives that move the story along. 2. A description of various elements of the game's interface when you first open them. These will help you understand the various tools you have to complete your goals. In addition, many of the game's mechanics are described in detail in the codex, which can be opened by clicking the question mark box on many of the panels in-game. You may also reset the interface tutorial via the codex if you want to see it again. The campaign starts just before the first mission phase. To start playing, either run the clock using the controls in the top right corner of the screen or hit continue on all of these notifications. Intel section reports, UFO crashes on Earth. An alien vessel has crashed down in the Bogota region in Colombia. While the wreckage is unrecoverable, we suspect that an alien lifeform escaped into the surrounding countryside.
Greetings, Commander. I am pleased to report the Council has appointed you leader of our organization. I am Fiona Ayawade, your Chief of Staff. While most of the world is reacting with fascination at the arrival of an alien species on Earth, we represent a small group who believes the aliens' crash landing and disappearance may signify a potential threat. We intend to build an international organization capable of investigating and, if necessary, combating any danger aliens may pose.
I recommend we send a counselor to investigate the crash site in the Bogota region as soon as possible. Our other counselors may be used in trying to gain influence in nations that may be able to contribute resources to our cause. You may review our objectives at any time by clicking our faction symbol in the top left corner of your screen.
Our council is made up of some of the Earth's best and brightest. They are capable, connected, and standing by for your orders.
New objectives. Assign counselors to missions. Counselor missions are the primary way to expand your reach on Earth. Twice a month, the game will enter the mission phase, during which all factions will assign their counselors to missions. Missions may target nations, control points, space facilities, and other counselors. Missions will be resolved in a set sequence in the weeks between mission phases. Defensive missions will trigger before missions that are offensive in nature. While some missions are automatically successful, many are contested and require a success roll. After all counselors have been assigned missions, select the Confirm Assignments button.
If we truly face the threat of invasion, we need to start organizing now. We are going to need global cooperation on a never-before-seen scale. I recommend we start tasking our counselors with gaining support in strategic positions of power across the globe.
New objective, gain a control point in a nation. Control points represent key nodes of political and economic power in a nation. They grant access to the nation's resources, control over its funding priorities, and in some cases, command of an army. Each nation has between 1 and 6 control points. The number corresponds with the size of the nation's economy. Initially, all control points are neutral, but expect all factions to target them early in the campaign. Neutral control points may be acquired by a Gain Control Counselor mission, while the Purge mission seizes control points from other factions. Control points in more powerful nations will be harder to acquire in all cases. The rightmost control point in a nation, called the Executive Control Point, also grants access to the Set Policy mission, which allows initiating wars, forming alliances, and similar high-level national actions. Upon successful resolution of a Control Nation mission, you will gain a control point in that nation.
Reports are still coming in, but it is clear that an alien object has crashed down on the planet. We should send a counselor to investigate the site as soon as possible.
New objective, investigate alien crash. Our first knowledge of the alien arrival came when a spacecraft aerobraked in our upper atmosphere before crashing down in a remote territory and apparently self-destructing. We should send a counselor to the site to learn what we can. Okay, I'm going to skip the UI tips just because
This
I've
is your
already
main
done them.
command interface.
If you have any questions about the interface, please feel free to ask them, but I did promise Kite that I was going to explain what the game is. Please, let me go. Am I just not allowed to get rid of the tutorial? I don't want to say, like, don't show this again if I... I wonder if maybe... Nope, it's not going to let me unpause.
Information about our currently
Okay, well, that's that. So you've probably gotten a bit of an idea from that opening cutscene as well as some of the descriptions, but basically this is, I think, a really cool strategy take on the alien invasion story. So whether you like Independence Day or War of the Worlds or, you know, any of these other stories, Terra Invicta starts basically in the present day, so October 1st, 2022 in this particular version. And essentially an alien ship has crash landed on Earth. The question as to whether or not there's intelligent life in the universe has been answered. But the response is not the immediate all humanity bands together to deal with this. In fact, there's an open question as to whether or not this is even something that's hostile. Now, we are playing a strategy game. With a name like Terra Invicta, you probably think that maybe we're not going to be having dialogue. But at least as far as the story of the game is concerned, there's actually no real indication that the intentions are hostile. Now, I think if I were to go to the intel screen, I'm probably not going to be able to... Yeah, I don't think there's much in terms of descriptions as to who these organizations are. I think as we gain information about them, we'll know. But I'm just trying to think if there's something quick that I can give you about. Yeah, probably not. Probably not worth going too far into it. I can give you just a bit of a one-liner. So we're playing a group known as the Resistance. And the purpose of this one is to beat back the alien invasion. As far as we're concerned, the aliens are hostile, and we want to basically preserve the independence and flourishing of humanity. Our goal is not necessarily the extermination of the aliens, however. That is Humanity First's job. So Humanity First is a considerably more vicious resistance group. We have common cause in the sense that we want to sort of defend humanity from the alien threat. But as far as Humanity First is concerned, not only do the aliens need to be exterminated, but any potential collaborators or anyone they basically don't necessarily see as sufficiently loyal to the human cause also need to be eliminated. So there's also some tension in terms of what the overall goal for Humanity First is. The initiative would basically be kind of the shadowy puppet masters. You can probably get a bit of a hint in terms of what they're all about with the pyramid and the eye on it. So this would be kind of a group, you know, the puppet masters in the background, or a group of special interests, powerful business interests, who essentially want to take advantage of the alien invasion. This is actually the one I'm most interested in playing on my own time. Because there's the question, you know, one, yes, you do want to do well for yourself in the face of the invasion, but clearly if the Earth is overrun by a hostile force, you still are not ahead of things. Everybody is equally wretched in the case of an alien victory. So I'm kind of curious how the initiative winds up sort of navigating the tension between wanting to enrich themselves, but not at such a cost that the defense of Earth is hindered. The servants are basically the fifth column of the alien invasion. Essentially here, their entire purpose is to aid the alien invasion in whatever way they can. They see them as saviors. And so clearly this is a faction that is completely hostile to my aims. This is someone who I want to be inconveniencing at every possible turn. The Protectorate, basically, I'm trying to remember exactly what the division between the Protectorate and the Academy are. So the Protectorate do essentially want to preserve humanity, but they essentially see resisting the aliens as a lost cause, that they are interested in trying to come to some sort of terms with the aliens, but they consider them to be so advanced that they are not necessarily, that like a military resistance is simply not going to be worth worth attempting. If anything, it's just going to hasten our destruction. The Academy, on the other hand, again, you would suspect a little bit more science-oriented. As far as they're concerned, there's a lot that can be learned from the aliens, and they are more sympathetic to the aliens. I don't think they necessarily see them as invaders, and I think maybe they have the hope that you can demonstrate the worth of humanity through research. But in this case here, you would say that I'd say probably the Academy and the servants are probably the most hostile to my particular approach, or alternatively, I'm the most hostile towards them. I'd say the Protectorate are misguided, and I could say Humanity First are probably also misguided. The initiative is not necessarily going to assist our aims, but they're not actively hostile to them. And that brings us to Project Exodus. And their idea here is maybe not dissimilar from the Protectorate in the sense that they feel that any kind of military confrontation with the aliens is a tremendously bad idea, that they are clearly technologically superior to us. And so, annoying them is probably not the done thing. But they're also pretty clear that this is not a good thing for humanity, and so the aim is to find a suitable alternative to Earth. And so this is the group of people that basically just want to abandon ship, hence the name Exodus. Kite says, when you look at our ability to go among the stars, we are completely inferior to an alien that makes it to us. And the game handles that. I won't spoil things too far, but it does actually address that idea, Kite, which is kind of neat. I will give you a little tip, or not a little tip. I'll give you a little taste of it. But what I wanted to talk about here is that you've got eight different factions, and again, rather than the story of alien life is revealed and humanity comes together as one, either to resist or to escape or whatever you have. This is about the moments before that essentially you have this division of the world among ideologies, and part of your job is to convince humanity that your way is the best way. And again, depending on the faction that you play, you're going to want to pursue particular technological ends. So what do I have in common with Project Exodus? Well, Project Exodus and I both want to build spaceships. We think spaceships are very important. The difference is that I want to build spaceships with guns on them. Project Exodus wants to build spaceships that are good for getaways. And essentially, the first part of the game is sort of played out on the international stage. So I've got two counselors here, Toby Brainerd and Andrei Mamontov. And essentially what I'm going to be doing is I'm going to be using them to wield influence on the world. And essentially we're going to try and bring populations and bring countries onto our side. But it's really important to remember that this is not just a paint the map game. This is why I sort of said it's a kind of an anti-colonization game. because of course the aliens are the colonists. The scope of this game basically extends out to the outer reaches of the solar system. All of this is simulated too, so when we get to ship combat, if we get to ship combat, we're definitely not getting to that tonight. But essentially, they're going to simulate the physics and all of that fun stuff. But you start on Earth, and part of the starting phase for me is to essentially to build enough capacity on Earth to build industry in space, so that I can start, I can start properly defending it. Which brings me to the wiki. So I'm just going to take a quick second to bring that up. And again, I'm not going to spend the whole time reading all of the wiki entries, but I think it would be instructive to just see how it describes the opening phases. But yeah, so I guess Kite has just identified himself as a member of the Protectorate, I think it was. Okay, so we can zoom in a little bit, I think. So there's a beginner's guide. If you're not clear on where this is hoodedhorse.com/wiki/Terra_Invicta. I'm actually going to put the beginner's guide in here. I believe Perun also has their tutorial video on this site. So additional guides, a compilation of guides is available with alternative step-by-step guides on the game. Let's just see what we've got here. General step-by-step gameplay guide, how to defeat the alien invasion in 10 easy steps, has been written on Reddit. Properly Pup has analyzed data regarding various country statistics such as unrest, cohesion, science, GDP per capita. Wow. They've certainly not lost any time. These sorts of things I'm a little less inclined to pick up, because I really like being able to play around with the specifics and sort of develop some tastes for myself. Obviously, I play very slowly, so I don't get to iterate as often as I want. Let's see how the game describes itself. So first day is counselor assignments, council, recruiting counselors. They actually had some decent recommendations here. So if you already have two counselors capable of control nations, hiring one capable of purge and crackdown would be a good move. I agree with this because I think one thing that I have run into in the past is that I focus too much on control nation. That's not always important in the later game. Starting research. I think it's just describing these windows. First month's long-term planning. Hopefully after the first month or two, you'll have control of it over at least a nation or two. At this point, with some initial footholds gained, it's worth to take a step back and consider what you need as part of a longer-term plan to fight back against the aliens. One thing we need to consider is resources. In the longer term, this will mean space resources, shown on the right side of the resource panel. But in the short term, that means money, influence, ops, and boost. The second thing we will require is suitable technology, which will enable us to expand our council, progress story missions, and put resources above to better use. In the longer term, technology will provide us with the tools to expand into the solar system, design and build spaceships, and fight the aliens on more even footing. Again, nice and general, so I'm not that worried about it. Yeah, I think we've read all of this before, so it doesn't seem like there's that much different. But what I do want to do for the factions is just make sure that I got this right with the Protectorate. Protect humanity by appeasing the... Okay, so here we go. Agendas. I think this is actually going to come up with the... I think this is going to come up in the intelligence anyway, but we're playing the resistance. Protect humanity by resisting the alien invasion. Humanity realist, alien somewhat hostile. The servants support the aliens by any means necessary. Humanity idealist. Aliens very supportive. Chairman Soren Van Wyck of the Initiative, exploit the alien arrival to gain power. Cynical on humanity, neutral on the aliens. Project Exodus, escape the aliens by sending humanity to other stars. Idealist humanity, aliens hostile. The Academy, convince the aliens that we are equal. Idealist humanity, somewhat supportive of the aliens. The Humanity First, eradicate the aliens and all who support them. Somewhat cynical on humanity, very hostile to the aliens. And finally, the Protectorate, protect humanity by appeasing the aliens. Somewhat cynical on humanity, supportive of the aliens. Interesting. Oh no, that would make sense because if we're appeasing them. Right, actually, I guess the Protectorate, for some reason, I think when I first introduced this game, I compared the Initiative to sort of the conspiracy in the background in the X-Files, but I guess the Protectorate would probably count a little bit closer to that. In any case, let's get on with the game. So, actually, I'll just see what they got here. Okay, Academy's got the International Space Station. Tutorial's active.
Flight controllers, about 15 seconds to CSMAC.
Back to Earth. So I think I'm going to try the same strategy that I did before. Basically try and take the United States through Mexico. The first thing we want to do, though, is investigate the crashdown site. So there's either one or two counselors that are capable of investigating. Here. So in this case, Toby Brainerd is the investigator. Next thing we want to do is see if we can bring in another counselor. Now we only have 50 influence, so we're not necessarily going to be able to bring in every counselor that we would want. But we can start by taking a look to see, what our people are capable of. So Toby Brainerd is best at investigation and science. So not very good with Control Nation. Advise will be helpful. Interesting. National hero. Actually, they may be decent in Canada, although I guess they don't have the ability to persuade Canada. Wolfhound Forge Corp, headquartered in the Hamburg region. This will boost their science, so I'm not opposed to bringing this org in. We've got Andrei Mamontov, so from Rostov-on-Don, Russia. Government affluent megastar and cynic. So they bring us a lot of influence. So their persuasion is considerably better. They've actually also got a good investigation, so they should be good at a crackdown. Purge requires espionage, so we're going to need to get a better purger. They will be good for public campaigns. Okay. So first things first, we are going to buy the Wolfhound Forge for my scientist. We have completed the Managing Orgs objective. Unpurchased orgs will sometimes be made available to other factions after a certain period. You may also develop orgs via faction projects and transfer orgs between counselors at a small cost. So the real question that we have, though, is can we hire another counselor? You don't mean to speak on behalf of you would go the Resistance or the Protectorate. I don't mean to speak on behalf of the aliens. But once again, if they can make it to us, why would they think that we're equal? I don't suppose any of you have ever read The League of Extraordinary Gentlemen, have you? Because they have an interesting take on the aliens being defeated by a virus or catching the cold. So, tempting because of the Control Nation and public campaign, high persuasion, but we do kind of already have that. High command, high espionage, good purge. They can investigate alien activities and assault alien assets. They're not maybe so good at controlling things, but I actually think this rebel might be just what the doctor ordered. So we will consider the Indonesian rebel. This operative, so good espionage, but their investigation leaves something to be desired. Which means they're not so good on the crackdown. And then we have a tech mogul, high persuasion, good for control. Oh, interesting. So we have 2 tech moguls who are good at persuasion. And they both have high administration. So, I mean, this is a tough one for me, right? Because these are actually reasonably desirable candidates. But what I think I am going to do is I'm going to pick one of the... So the only thing that sucks is that their administration isn't so good. But this guy does give me ops, although they're non grata in Pakistan. I think we'll go for the better stats. So there is one really nice thing that choosing this rebel has gotten me. So originally I was going to send Toby Brainerd off to investigate the alien activity, but what I can do now... Hello, Commander. Thank you for bringing me on board. I can bring Gennady, and they can investigate the alien activity, because of course this is someone who's not going to be controlling nations, so this is a nice little opportunity for me. I'm not quite sure what I'm going to get them to do afterwards. There's obviously not a whole lot else that they're very good at, but...
On the way to the target sites.
Okay.
At your service.
Next up, so my big focus here is going to be on taking North America. That's what we tried to do last time. So first thing I'm going to do is see what my opportunities are to just simply take control points. The usual way that we've done this has been to soften up Mexico by taking neighboring regions, and then we make our move on Canada. Right now, Canada's only going to get me 11%. So one thing I might want to do is start with Belize, which has an 87% chance without any other adjustment. I could try Guatemala as well, but maybe not as exciting. Actually, maybe here's what we'll try instead. See
Where do you need me?
Toby's going to do. So Toby has the same chance because with the modifications, it's 11 for both. So maybe what I try here is we send Toby to Belize.
We'll be running this place in no time.
And then we'll send Andrei to Guatemala.
We'll bring this nation to our side.
So we've got 2, better than a coin toss efforts to try and take Mexico. So we'll confirm the assignments. We've completed the assigned counselors to missions objective. You will be able to assign your counselors to new missions at the beginning of each mission phase, which occurs weekly and will slow down to twice per month as the game progresses.
Our researchers are asking for your guidance in directing their efforts.
Research in Terra Invicta is divided into 2 categories, public research and faction engineering. All factions may contribute up to 2 3 simultaneous public research projects, which represent a global move towards the understanding of broad scientific principles. The faction that contributes the most to a particular public research project selects the next public project for the world to pursue. Faction engineering projects are conducted privately and typically confer a concrete benefit. Each faction distributes its research income among the public and private projects. While putting all research into a single area may see it completed sooner, this will forego many faction bonuses tied to particular areas of research. Go to the research screen and change the priority settings for one of the public research or faction engineering projects by clicking on a cycler for a technology or project you wish to complete. Okay, so let's go to the research and development screen. So right now, there are 3 projects that are sort of started. We've got We Are Not Alone, Skywatch, and Mission to Space. Sociologists consider what the alien arrival means for human institutions. Skywatch, the consolidation and advancement of aerospace surveillance systems. Mission to Space, we learn how to live and thrive in a vacuum. Now, the harsh reality of this is that we really don't have that good of a research plan. So generally the way that I've handled the first moments of Terra Invicta have usually been to just let the AI control research until we control nations that are very good at research. So what I am going to do, though, is just see if I can do... I think we're going to start with management research, because as nice as it is for the extra influence, I actually want to get an early start on management research. And we've completed the Set a Research Priority objective. Contributing to global tech research will increase your chances of unlocking private faction projects to research. Certain hab modules and orgs will allow you to pursue multiple private projects at once. So this is the same. One thing that is nice about this game is that you can basically, like, you can fine-tune the amount of funding that you give based on these. So, like, yes, it's only 3 boxes, but clearly if I have, like, 1 box in each of these, it's going to be 25. This says, okay, this is slightly more important. And then I'm like, okay, well, what about these? Well, as you can see, the same percentage among the 4, and then they sort of take the remainder and give it to the 2. So there's actually quite a bit of variability you can get out of this, right? But in any case, we already know... Oh, hang on. I didn't realize we had 2 of these. Well, I mean, I guess it doesn't really matter because we're not committing any research to that yet. Okay, what have we got here? Oh yeah, so it's also worth mentioning that the game was not on pause. So if you want the game to play out in real time, you can. But it is worth remembering that some of these objectives that we've been talking about take place over years. So you're going to be waiting a while if this is how you want to play. I tend to find this game, I tend to be able to play around the 3 or 4 speed mark. I don't always like it when I'm just sort of crashing into the next event with the pause button, but in the case of Terra Invicta, it's not as jarring. So I'll start with 3 just to see how long it takes to complete the different objectives. Yeah, definitely. Actually, maybe we will go up to number 4. There are even more speed settings than this, but I don't want to go too fast. So, select a management team. We may now recruit our faction's management team. As we stand up resistance operations, we are selecting our internal management team to help oversee our affairs. While we are gathering personnel from a variety of disciplines, at your direction, we will emphasize a particular specialty. So we can get lobbyists and influencers to increase our influence. This is going to be something that we can just use the in-game tooltips to describe these traits. So influence represents political capital and the ability to sway institutions and people to pursuing your goals. It is gained from favorable global public opinion about your faction's ideology, orgs, counselor traits, and hab modules. It is also spent on maintaining your control points each month. So if you go over the limit, which is said here, you actually can potentially get negative influence. Scientists and engineers. So the Resistance monthly research income increases by 15. This is the research income here. Research represents the efforts of our scientists and engineers. Unlike other resources, it is not accumulated but immediately distributed according to our research priorities, which are divided between global investigations into new principles and technologies and private engineering projects, which will only benefit our faction. We are receiving the following bonuses to these research categories: 3 military science and 15 to information science. We can go for officers and operators, which will increase our ops income. Now, ops income is actually quite hard to come by, I've found. So in this case, this is definitely a priority for me. Ops or operations is our ability to conduct small-scale combat and espionage operations. It is primarily gained from orgs, but can also come from counselor traits and certain hab modules in an Earth interface orbit. Oh, I should have read financiers and investors, but you can guess money. Money is used to build components on Earth for our space program, acquire many counselor orgs, conduct certain financially oriented missions, and support our space assets.
Here's what we found.
It is gained from national funding, the spoils priority, orgs, counselor traits, hab modules, and the sale of space resources on Earth. Alright, so our one of our counselors has finished their mission. Investigate alien activity mission is complete. I have learned some useful information from my investigation of the UFO crashdown site in Colombia. We will receive a small bonus for our xenology research going forward. I wonder if that shows up here. Yes, 1%.
We'll be ready for new orders soon.
We have completed the Investigate Alien Crash objective. Despite heavy security, we were able to obtain some surveillance records of the crash site, as well as a small quantity of debris. We should have a project ready for research shortly. And that got us 20 influence, as well as 20 science. Our counselor was able to obtain some surveillance recordings from the alien crash site. Our researchers should analyze it as soon as possible. When it becomes available, complete the Alien Signatures project. One humanity. The growing realization that we are not the sole sapient species in the universe is causing many to see their fellow humans in a new light, leading to hopes that we can overcome our capacity for strife to address the alien arrival as one people. Let us try to set aside our differences and go forward together. Event unlocked, Wave of Fear. Triggers the following effects. All nations gain 1 cohesion. So, I am going to go into the nation traits, but I kind of want to make a little bit of progress first. Maybe we'll wait until we have another assignment phase before we look at the nation details. It's definitely a very complicated game in terms of what's simulated, but that's one of the things that makes it appealing too. So, we are now able to undertake the Alien Signatures project. Allows faction to detect alien abductions on Earth. So we're going to go there. So as much as I'd like management research for the extra cap, I do want to complete the objectives ahead of time. So we will select Alien Signatures. And we'll carry on.
Our presence is growing.
We've completed the Gain a Control Point in a Nation objective. We have gained our first control point. This gives us access to some of the nation's resources, control over the nation's priorities, and possibly an army. Control points may be attacked by other factions via the Crackdown and Purge missions, so it may be wise to use the Defend Interests mission in this nation to discourage this behavior.
Our counselor has gained the support of people in key positions of power in a nation. We should consider what our priorities are for that nation.
A nation's priorities determine how it will distribute its economic surplus over time in the form of investment points. Priorities can determine, for example, the building of armies, investment in education, and developing a space program, just to name a few. Having control points in a nation allows us to direct a nation's priorities. Select a nation, and then in the nation's info panel, select the Priorities button to see the nation's current priorities.
Our current counselors are stretched thin. I recommend we expand the council.
Your faction council is the backbone of your political efforts on Earth, and growing your council will allow you to undertake more missions each month. Counselors have a variety of attributes, backgrounds, available missions, and traits. Building a council that can handle a variety of tasks will help you keep pace with the other factions. Recruit and maintain 5 counselors in your council.
As we expand our operations, we will soon need the support of a large nation.
New objective, gain a control point in a large nation. While we should pursue a diverse coalition of support, if we are to meaningfully face the potential threat posed by the aliens, we will need the backing of some nations with significant resources. We should align ourselves with nations that are generating boost or have the resources to bootstrap a space program within a short period of time so that, if necessary, we can meet whatever threat these aliens pose on even footing. Additionally, we should consider nations that have access to an army or could field one if the aliens reveal terrestrial hostile intent. Alright, control mission is a success. I have gained a control point for the Resistance in Belize. We now have 1 of 1 control points there. Executive power over this nation now belongs to the Resistance. And he can get some stats, so this was Toby Brainerd's work, control nation in Belize. Success chance was 73, we rolled a 19, so that was a success.
We've got our people in place.
Next up, our Russian politician has won over Guatemala. We have gained a control point for the Resistance in Guatemala. We now have 1 of 2 control points there, and that was a 27 on a 69. So what I'm going to do here, I'm actually going to go to take me there. Oop. Our counselor was spotted. Resistance counselor Andrei Manontov was detected by another faction in Guatemala City region of Guatemala. Detected counselors are target for enemy investigation or attacks. This counselor may consider using using the go to ground mission to shake any pursuit. So we'll continue there. Now, if I click on Guatemala, so in this case we've got. So this is the first control point that we got. In this case, this is the aristocracy. Now, because we have one. Excuse me. Because we have one control point, we can now make a move on the executive. So in the case of Belize, there was only one control point, and so by taking the control point, we took the executive. And the larger the nation, the more control points it has. So for instance, in the United States, you have the financial sector, you have identity blocks, you've got corporations, you've got mass media, you've got the legislature, and then finally you have the executive. So the idea is that you could, in fact, be, if you wanted, you could say, okay, I've got the financial sector and the mass media, I'm going to make a move on the executive. And so in that case, the legislature and the executive are held by different factions. I've noticed the tendency in the game is for people to eventually just sort of control everything. But certainly when you see the AI play, it'll usually be divided quite a bit. It's also worth mentioning that there are different effects, I believe, for different groups. So if you have the mass media, bonus to public campaign missions in this nation. Although for some reason, having the mass media also grants command of the 2nd Marine Division. Oh, I also now see where the cost against cap is, so that can help me plan for future expansion. What does the aristocracy give me? Bonus money gained from the spoils priority. That's it. So speaking of priorities, we have completed the Check a Nation's priority objectives. From here, we can see what a nation's priorities are, directing the priorities of nations under our control and keeping tabs on the development of nations under our enemy's control will be critical in our efforts to meet the alien threat. So I am going to talk about that a little bit. I'm just going to slow things down into... Oh, we're already confirming assignments. Fair enough. Andre says, our control point in Guatemala would be better protected from enemy purges with a defend interests mission. True, but maybe not the most important thing for me to work on right now. Okay, so this is essentially what we've got here is how the wealth of the nation is being divided. So there is an automatic resistance priority. In fact, maybe the better thing for me to do would be go to the nation screen and design a template. So you've got kleptocratic, everything goes into spoils. Subsistence, lots of spoils, and spend some on the military. Stability, military and spoils, but also put a little bit towards economy, welfare, and unity. Developing, slight division, but again, lots of money into the spoils. Industrialization, modernization, digitization. And then you have, these are references to science fiction authors. So you've got the Asimovian, high knowledge, high funding, high boost, mission control, a little bit in spoils and a little bit in welfare. And then you can compare that to, let's do Heinleinian. So high economy, high spoils, high funding, high boost. I'm surprised that there's less in military. I would have expected there to be more. Then technocratic, in this case, it is worth remembering, right? This is the same as those. Little pips for research. It's about relative values. So if I do. Well, what I'll just do here, so I'll keep the resist, but I'll call it my resist. And the one thing I like to change, now there's a catch to what I do here. So basically I like taking away the spoils and redistributing it into one of the other categories. Now there's a cost for this. One of the things that I think is neat about Terra Invicta is that it doesn't go for the easy answer and say, there is Erasmus. Yeah, it's in the nation screen. So essentially, one of the things that's nice about Terra Invicta is, like, you could say it's like, oh, well, why do we have corruption? Like, why do we have, why is it that there are elites who just sort of line their own pockets with the world's resources? Well, like, because it's good for you. Like, it's not good for humanity, but the individuals, there's a benefit to it, and people like that sort of stuff. Well, the people who are receiving it. So in this case here, right, you can see spoil represents the direct extraction of wealth from an economy accomplished by avoiding the true costs of obtaining it. This covers such behaviors as crime and corruption, regulatory capture, and tax avoidance, economic rents, unmitigated pollution, and exploitation of labor. Completing the spoils priority grants funds directly to the owner of each control point, increases inequality, decreases government, and adds to global environmental damage. The nation's elites will be dissatisfied if the nation is receiving insufficient spoils, making coups d'etats more likely to occur. Now, there is a threshold of spoils that are expected to be met, but you can lower that threshold by having just sort of more of a free and open society. So again, like, if you want to stay in power, you do kind of need to play the game, and depending on what country you're in, you may want to put some more towards spoils. But I do the bad thing, and I take away spoils and I put more towards knowledge. The knowledge priority covers investments in education and the free flow of information. Completing the knowledge priority increases a nation's education and government score and pulls the cohesion towards the middle value of 5. Now you'll notice here, first of all, I'm going to save the template. So we can compare what's going on with my it's funny you should mention that, Kite. We'll get to that. So you notice that, like, the amounts that are being spent of the nation's wealth are relatively small. So, 14% for space defenses, 14% for mission control, 14% for boost, 14% for funding, and so on and so forth. Actually, you know what? Maybe it's better that I just read all the tooltips as we go through. But what I'll direct your attention to, right, you can say is like, okay, well, why would you ever do something like developing? Well, again, look at this, like 50% towards spoils, 33% towards the economy, 17% towards the military. Then we can contrast that with my resist, right? Military is getting 14%. So the amount that goes towards some of the things that you consider priorities will change depending on how many priorities you set. It's kind of like I say in other games, right? If everything's a priority, then nothing is a priority. So we'll do a quick readout here, and then I'll explain how some of these things affect the country page. So the economy priority represents investments in industry and growth. Investing in this priority increases the nation's per capita GDP, inequality, and contribution to global environmental damage. The number of core economic and resource regions in the nation impacts these values. Higher levels of democracy and middle values and cohesion lead to more innovation and higher increases in income. This, by the way, the modeling in this I think is pretty good. There are a couple of quibbles that you can bring up. So for instance, you can actually probably imagine sort of a parabolic curve in terms of GDP and environmental damage. So, like, it is definitely true that, survival essentially will create waste, right? If we want zero waste, we need to, we need to stop existing. And that's not happening. I don't want that to happen. But it is also true that as societies become more affluent, their tolerance of pollution is also decreased. Now, again, the more production, the more people, you are going to see sort of more environmental damage. But I think the peak of British pollution was around the Industrial Revolution. And then it's been declining. And again, part of that is technological progress for our own form. So, when you're trying to increase your standard of living, you will be willing to accept some very dirty means of production. When you enjoy a certain standard of living, then you start caring quite a bit about, the quality of the environment and sort of the side effects of this production. And obviously we had COP 27. This is one of the big challenges, right, is that developing countries have a pretty reasonable claim to saying, it's like, well, you all had a chance to, to develop. Why are we not allowed to do this? But we also have the very real problem of greenhouse gases, right? And so you also don't want to sort of turn around and shut the door on people and say, nope, sorry, we know what's best. You're not allowed to grow anymore. And obviously, I'm not trying to set up a false dichotomy here. It's a more complicated issue, and it is not a question of, okay, so you either care about climate change or you care about poor people. It is possible to care about both, but these are some of the things that this game is trying to embed inside of these different priorities and where you assign them. And so again, focus on the economy is going to, in this case, mean that there's an increase in terms of pollution. And it is fair to say that a byproduct of production is pollution. So welfare. The welfare priority represents redistribution of wealth and repairing harm done to the environment. Completing the welfare priority decreases inequality and mitigates some global environmental damage. So one of the things you can do is you can say, okay, I don't want to recklessly destroy the environment. I am going to assign a little bit towards, towards welfare. But obviously that's going to mean that money that you could have been extracting from the economy and the spoils sections, that's going to be going towards welfare. Is that a good idea? Well, depends on what your priorities are for the playthrough. Knowledge. The knowledge priority covers investments in education and the free flow of information. Completing the knowledge priority increases a nation's education and government score and pulls the cohesion towards the middle value of 5. I read that before, I apologize. The unity priority represents a national effort to unify the people against a common foe at the cost of some civil protections for dissenters. Investing in the unity priority will increase cohesion and decrease the government score. It may also shift public opinion towards factions with control points in this nation. This priority is less effective in nations with higher education levels. So, if you have a poorly educated populace and if you have a lot of control over the country, it is easier to propagandize them, is basically the idea there. But if you do so, there are consequences in terms of your ability to remain a free society, as you would expect. The military priority represents the investments in internal security and military technology. It will lower unrest and increase miltech. The impact on unrest is higher in nations with low democracy. Miltech will go up faster in nations with no unrest. Well, what does that mean? Well, number one, if you are not a free country, then chances are you're not going to have the same kinds of qualms about sending in the military to stop problems. But if you are living in, a free and open society, people tend to get kind of upset when you send the army in on your own people. So, of course, the higher... Now, this doesn't mean, by the way, that the military isn't used. In Canada, we do participate in international missions, but we've had a number of floods, and those are the things that the Army gets called up for as well. In fact, during COVID, there were crises in a few nursing homes. And again, the Army was brought in those cases. We talked about spoils. So funding. The funding priority directs national resources into legitimate government and private efforts to support space and other programs being pursued by owners of this nation's control points. While not as profitable as the spoils priority, it does no harm to the nation. Completing this priority increases the nation's annual funding value, which becomes income for factions with control points here. So this, you can contrast this with spoils and basically saying this is your investment in terms of building the nation up, right? The Army showed the elders in nursing homes. Good, there's a lot fewer of them now. How you doing, Robmonger? But yeah, so in this case here, right, this is the long-term investments that you're willing to make in order to make the nation more prosperous. So one thing you might say is that maybe we're not going to worry about building a space program while we're a very poor nation. We're going to put everything inside of funding, and then once that's taken care of, we can improve the, then we can start worrying about space programs. Boost. The boost priority covers the construction of launch facilities for rockets and other surface-to-orbit craft, increasing the nation's total boost. The amount of boost created increases with proximity to the equator, and new facilities will tend to go in regions that are closer to the equator or already have launch facilities. If a nation has not initiated a spaceflight program, it will use the higher of the boost and mission control priority values in the template to begin one. Mission control. Completing the mission control priority grants one mission control to the nation. New facilities will tend to go in regions that already have mission control facilities. If a nation has not initiated a spaceflight program, it will use the higher of the boost and mission control priority values in the template to begin one. Armies and navies. The build army priority will create a new army in the nation. Nations may build one army per region. Each army reduces the number of investment points for the nation. New armies will be assigned to higher numbered control points before lower numbered ones. Navies are upgrades attached to armies and allow them to move across oceans. When the template is applied to a control point, points will be distributed between building armies and navies based on national conditions. Nuclear weapons. Well, basically, you really liked Terminator, and you want to see that happen. This priority will add one nuclear barrage to the nation's stockpile. Nations without nuclear weapons require more investment to make their first one. Completing the first nuclear weapon causes a small amount of global environmental damage and counts as an atrocity for all factions with a control point in the nation. And finally, space defenses. The space defenses priority constructs a surface-to-orbit weapons array in one region in the nation. More valuable and populous regions will be protected first. Space defenses prevent alien landings, orbital bombardment, and nuclear strikes on the region it is located in. Investment points will not be spent on this priority before certain global technologies are discovered. So you can apply that globally too, but if you want a fast way of doing it, you can just hit this. So obviously that was a lot of reading, but the reason why I wanted to go over that is just to give you the breakdown in terms of how this all works. So if we take a look at Guatemala, it's currently an autocracy, anocracy, not autocracy. A nation's government score measures the amount of democracy in a country, which represents things like civil liberties, popular selection of leaders, press freedoms, and rule of law via an independent judiciary. This impacts many things, including national stability and cohesion, research production, corruption, economic growth, and the effectiveness of the military in controlling unrest. Government increases by 0.005 per 2 investment points in the knowledge priority. It changes by negative 0.01 per 2 investment points in the unity priority. It's also currently undergoing strife. So this is the unrest score. The unrest score represents violent resistance to the political, economic, or cultural status quo in this nation. High unrest hampers the economy and may result in a coup or revolution, which will transfer or clear many or all of the nation's control points at once. Unrest is fed by low cohesion and low quality of life per capita GDP. Military spending in armies can reduce it, especially in non-democracies. Unrest changes by negative 0.0539 per 3 investment points in the military priority. We've got GDP. The nation's GDP has changed by a certain amount. The nation's GDP, or gross domestic product, is a measure of its annual economic output in US dollars adjusted by purchasing power parity. Again, purchasing power parity is something I would never have expected to see inside of a game. The nation's GDP determines how many control points a nation has, how many investment points it produces, and how difficult certain missions are there. So, again, one thing that's interesting about this game, right, is that it doesn't necessarily tell you, democracy is good or authoritarianism is good. You're given a government. Your job as the leader of a faction is to make your case and to achieve your goals. Whether you choose to do that among sort of the free nations of the world, or whether you try to bring about changes to the governments of the world, all of these are things that you can choose to do in certain ways, and it's kind of up to you to decide what your priorities are. So, do you want to try and turn China, into a flourishing democracy? Well, you can. That's something you can try and do in this, but you've got all your work ahead of you. Yeah, Canada is always, pretty much throughout Canada's entire history, we've been an incredibly small country, especially compared to the States. But yeah, in any case. So, and again, you can see that there are certain benefits to playing along with the government that you have. In the case of China, it's easier to get things under control because you don't have to worry about elections, basically. Military, so you do have Miltech. In this case, we're in the atomic age. The nation's military technology value represents the capability of the nation's armed forces. Each 10th of a point in Miltech represents a 10% improvement in combat capability. We do not yet have the bomb in Guatemala, and there are no navies. So this last, well, I guess there's two more things that I'll show you, but these ones will be a little bit quicker. So as Rawmonger pointed out, there's almost 20 million people in Guatemala. It does, as you can see, it actually changes based on population growth. So it's a developing nation. The nation's education value is scored based on the average years of schooling of a citizen in this nation. Nations with higher education scores produce more research, but are more resistant to extreme propaganda, and are more resistant to extreme propaganda, but gain less cohesion from the unity priority. Education increases by 0.005 per 2 investment points in the knowledge priority, which is the reason why I'm putting those investments inside of it. Next up, polarized. A nation's cohesion represents the level of unity or conflict among the people of the nation. This includes cultural, ideological, ethnic, and religious similarities and differences. High values describe a unified society that brooks little deviation or dissent. Middle values represent a diverse society that has both internal conflict and a healthy, creative counterculture. Middle-low values represent a high degree of political polarization, and the lowest values mean the nation's people are fragmented or even tribal. High values keep unrest in check and increase the nation's ability to resist occupation, while middle values represent a bonus to national research production, representing a robust, if messy, marketplace of ideas. Low values will rapidly increase unrest. Cohesion is lowered by high inequality, anocracy, having lots of regions or a large population, destruction of armies, and a large difference between public opinion and the ideology of control point owners. Cohesion is increased by wars, near-peer rivalries, autocracy, and the unity priority. Democracy pulls it towards a middle value. I think it's 0 to 10. I'm not 100% sure, to be honest. Perhaps the wiki will cover that. Let me just take a quick look. Oh, did I forget to... I know you can't see it. I'll bring it up if I find it. Yeah, so fragmented 0 to 1 and monolithic is 10. So unrest increases from 0 to 4, research increases from 4 to 8, and unrest decreases from 8 to 10. So fragmented, fractured, sectarian, polarized, competitive, diverse, integrated, homogeneous, dominated, hegemonic, and monolithic. And you can, again, I think most of this stuff is fairly intuitive, right? So one of the things, again, that I really respect about this game is that it doesn't go for easy answers, and it doesn't hand wave away important concepts. If you think of, a completely fragmented society, you're essentially looking at civil war, right? But if you're thinking of this completely unified society, that sounds like, Orwell's 1984, right? That's not necessarily a society that's going to be flourishing either, unless you consider the reduction of unrest to be sort of the top priority. But generally, particularly in a game like this where you have so much to do in space and you want to have a technological edge, it certainly makes sense to have the ability to express different ideas and to have mechanisms to be able to handle them. So that's kind of why the middle values tend to be ones that you'd associate with, with again, free and open societies. But again, the game's not necessarily telling you what the best path is. It's more telling you about what the consequences of certain paths are. Here you'll see public opinion. So in this case, the Protectorate is the most popular in Guatemala. This is actually going to be a problem for us because we will control it, and we are one of the smallest groups in Guatemala. On the other hand, this is a stepping stone towards what we really want. Here we've got GDP per capita. Now that's not, I don't believe that's going to be affecting what we get from the country. We'll cover that in a second, but a nation's per capita GDP is its gross domestic product divided by its population. It represents the economic conditions for the average citizen of the nation. Nations with a low per capita GDP will face higher unrest, while the people's needs are not being met. Putting investment points into the economy priority can increase GDP. Conflict, population loss, and climate change are among the things that can cause it to decrease. And we've got inequality. So a nation's inequality score is a measure of how wealth and income is distributed in the nation. High values mean the nation doesn't have much of a middle class. Inequality grows by a little as a product of normal economic activity, the economy priority, or a lot because of corruption, the spoils priority. Resource regions in a nation can contribute to inequality. High inequality reduces cohesion as the nation divides into haves and have-nots. It is countered by use of the welfare priority. Finally, we've got development here. So actually, sorry, I don't think I gave you the GDP measurement, but here it is. Actually, no, I think we did talk about it. So finally, you've got this development screen. So here the section shows the total production of national resources and the share granted to the resistance through its control points. If the nation is part of a federation, it shows the shared funding and boost granted to the nation, which are substitutes for the domestic values. So this is the monthly investment points. This represents the nation's economic surplus that can be distributed by factions with control points in the priorities tab. This value is set by the nation's GDP and reduced by the number of armies it fields and by high levels of unrest. The nation's GDP provides a base of 5.37 investment points per month. It currently has 4.16 available for distribution to various priorities. Unrest is decreasing this nation's investment points by 23%. So in this case here, right, a quarter of our GDP is going into getting the country under control. Now you can see why it would make sense to reduce, here you can see why it would make sense to reduce unrest quickly. You know, maybe you could even say, it's like, look, we're only going to bring in the army to quell the uprising this one time so that we can, we can get the, we can get the economy back on track. But I promise I'll give back the power right after. I'm wondering if we were to go heavy on spoils right away, if it would tell us what the effects of that is. No. Funding, this is the money the nation is providing each month to be distributed to owners of its control points. We've got monthly research. Nation's research production is a product of the education level economy, cohesion, democracy, and unrest. Monthly boost and mission control, which obviously we don't have here. That's why we're going to be going up to the U.S. Look, Cincinnatus did it, okay? Cincinnatus loved the United States so much, he changed his name after Cincinnati. Okay, I do actually need to get people on these assignments, but I realize it takes, going through this stuff takes a while, right? But I think there's some value in doing this just so you can sort of see why I would want to do certain actions over other ones. So one thing I'm a little curious about, is it worth trying to go into Guatemala? And in this case, no. The chance of success is just way too low here. I could try a Hail Mary on Canada, but again, that's not really going to help me out here. Maybe what I want to do where I can is just, take the low-hanging fruit where it's possible, and
bringing them on board.
We'll do the best that we can.
Great.
Now, I think I am going to lock down. Guatemala here. I do want to start working on Mexico, but let's get the
Bringing them on
executive
board.
point. And the big question here
Where to?
is, what do I do with this counselor? Because I don't really don't have anything to purge right now. I can try, but you know, it's going to be sort of a 1 in a million shot. I mean, one thing I could do is just, you know, we've got Namibia, Thailand, Italy. All of them are pretty remote chances. Start a coup in Yemen for really no reason, but let's just do a good old-fashioned purge. See what happens.
We're taking power.
We have completed the Assign a Counselor to a Purge mission objective. Purging enemy CPs is a valuable tool in your arsenal. Keep an eye out for undefended enemy CPs, which are ripe for the plucking. Alright, no problem, Kite. Sorry you didn't get to see.
In the worst cases, our only option might be imposing a complete regime change on another nation.
Sorry I didn't get a chance to show you more of the story, but I'm sure we'll get a chance to talk again in the future. Coups are used to represent CPs used to reset CPs in an enemy-controlled nation. Coups are more likely to succeed in nations with high unrest. Use the Increase Unrest mission prior to attempting the coup. And the last thing I want to do is see if I can get another counselor in here. So we do not yet have enough for the tycoons. So again, high administration would be good. It'd be nice if I had more public campaign. Yeah, so the thing that I want is like a little bit of everything. I want high persuasion. I want... so like, I'd like high administration, I'd like high persuasion, and I'd like public campaign. Investigation's not bad for the crackdown, and they've got a decent persuasion here. So yeah, this tech mogul would be good for public campaigns, and it does give me another control nation priority, but the other stuff, like the crackdowns and such, are not quite there. Does anybody give me ops? Well, this guy, but unfortunately his investigation isn't quite up to scratch. So this tech mogul's looking increasingly attractive. The only drawback is like it's control nation and public campaign again. Like these are all missions that I already have. So at the very least with AMV, we've got we've got Crackdown and Purge. I'm slightly more inclined towards this character. Or we just wait for another... We just wait for another character. Let's try this.
Your orders? Putting our people in place.
So I'll try and control El Salvador. That's pretty much everything we can do. Oh, sorry, there's one other thing. See if there's any... Usually, so there are better ways of figuring out the org marketplace, but I find it just as easy to cycle through the characters and see if any of these go bright. So The UN Security Council meets. The UN Security Council has met to discuss the alien arrival. Unfortunately, the hoped-for show of international unity did not materialize, with China, Russia, and the United States accusing each other of hiding knowledge about the alien crash and preventing full access to the site. We have an opportunity to shape events to our advantage, even to make our case directly to the nations of the world. However, with the eyes of the world on these meetings, our counselor's risk of exposure to our enemies is extremely high. So we can choose to remain in the shadows. We can quietly steer support to the resistance, so it will grant a small public opinion boost for the resistance around the world, and information about the resistance will be exposed to our enemies. Or we can deliver our manifesto to the world. We gain 50 influence for that, grants a public opinion boost for the resistance around the world, and a great deal of information about the resistance is exposed to our enemies. So we have now delivered our manifesto. I like to do that on the public computers in like the library green screen room. But nobody listens.
We failed to take control.
So we kind of expected some of this stuff would be happening. This is why
We failed to take control.
Oh man, we're not getting any.
Our supporters are in place.
All right, the Canadian delivers again. So we now have Honduras.
The opposition remains in power.
So we, no surprises there, but we can repeat. Well, I mean, the first advantage would be if you're, like, so if you didn't want your enemies to know about you, like, obviously that's a big one. So I don't know what the effect would be for the AI. So in this case, like everybody in the AI decided to stay hidden, right? And I mean, again, if you're worried that your counselors are going to get sniped, that's another worry as well. But I just haven't had the AI do that stuff to me yet. So for now, I tend to deliver the manifest. All right, the 820th Armored Division of North Korea is now under control of the initiative. So basically the annoying car guy
Ready for orders.
now has his own army. Okay. So Humanity First has Georgia. I'm not as worried about that. I think let's try...
Removing our enemies.
I am slightly curious if I were to try a coup
Standing
d'etat, what the effect might be.
At your service.
Yeah, 2% chance to succeed in North Korea. No surprises there.
Acknowledged.
All right, Toby. Let's get you to... I mean, we can get him to work on Canada again. Or do I want to get all the benefits from Central America first?
Establishing control.
Okay, let's see if we can get any goodies. Nope. And I don't think we have space for another counselor right now, so... Yeah, I'd say that's a decent breakdown. It's like I can't really see anything that the AI is doing except for like the effects after the fact. We have completed the Alien Signatures project. There is no doubt extraterrestrial life has touched down on Earth. The many questions we have regarding its origin, its species, and its intent will have to wait. All that matters now is finding it. By cross-referencing reports of unusual events in the vicinity of the landing site with similar data from our global intelligence network, we have developed a tracking system to be able to reliably identify disappearances most likely resulting from alien activity. So now we can see when there are abductions on Earth. Objective complete. We have completed the Research Alien Signatures objective. Our studies of the crash site have determined that a motile sapient life form survived the crashdown and moved with purpose into the nearby wilderness. We have no footage of the creature, nor any further sighting reports. Worryingly, however, we are receiving reports of strange occurrences in nearby communities, including disappearances of both animals and people. So far, we have no hard evidence that these events are related to the alien arrival, but should our agents detect concrete evidence of abductions, we should investigate immediately. Reports are continuing to surface of missing animals and people in the regions near the crash site. Using the surveil location mission in those regions will help us detect those events. When we confirm such a report, we should investigate it for any signs of alien activity. And finally, research alien origin. Our research division has been studying the fragments of debris our counselor recovered from the crash site. The volume of material is very small, but our researchers have nevertheless drawn some important conclusions. The debris is made of some kind of metallic alloy that is unusually hard and strong, with properties that do not fully match to anything that human engineering can reproduce. Several of our researchers suspect that some fraction of the substance may be extrasolar in origin. However, we have definitely established that the majority of the mass in the debris bears the unique signatures of our solar system's formation. In all likelihood, this ship was built somewhere within the orbit of our sun. If our analysis is correct, it suggests that the aliens have at least one base of operations within or very close to our solar system. Locating it would be a valuable intelligence windfall. My apologies for stumbling over the words. Like I said, I'm very tired, so I'm not... I mean, I know I stumble over words at the best of times anyway, but I'm definitely feeling it right now. One reason I'm very conscious of that is there's someone... I'm struck by the frequency with which people who position themselves as, and probably really do think of themselves as good people, tend to be mean in some of the very pettiest ways. So I don't think particularly poorly of this one person I'm thinking of, but I do know on multiple occasions when I've made very, very minor slip-ups in terms of reading. I think I've actually talked about this before, just in terms of, mispronunciation or stumble over my words or anything. Without fail, every single time I have done that, they have highlighted it and had a laugh about it. And I think there's some value in not taking yourself too seriously, which I hope is true for me. But this actually came to mind for me a few weeks ago because I talked to them about something that I really liked reading. I've probably mentioned it before, Snow Crash by Neil Stephenson. It's got a very memorable opening. Actually, I can leave it to you. Does anybody want to hear the opening for Snow Crash? If I could maybe do that at like the end of the stream or something like that. But they didn't want to hear it at the moment, and I was thinking, it's like, okay, well, I could do a recording for them. And I started doing it, and then inevitably I wind up stumbling over it because it's a couple pages long. And every single time I did that, I was like, okay, well, I probably need to do it over again because I'm never gonna hear the end of it if I don't give a perfect delivery every single time. And then I sort of thought to myself, it's like, well, if I'm gonna put that level of quality control inside of it, why don't I just do something that's public domain and I can make that an audiobook that people can listen to? And more importantly, why am I putting this effort into someone who's being a jackass? So, this person probably did. Actually, I know they think of themselves as one of the good guys. They have very, very strong opinions on lots of moral issues. But on the basic, don't be a bully thing, they really haven't delivered on that. And I mean, the thing that's sad about that is not the fact that I feel insecure about my ability to speak. I mean, I had a speech impediment. I arguably still do, depending on when you hear me talk. But every once in a while, I'll, hear, you've got a nice turn of phrase, or that was a good presentation. For the most part, I think the compliments I tend to get are about my ability to speak. There is a tendency where it doesn't matter how many compliments I hear on that, I tend to feel like I need to get better. And I think that's just for something that you tend to care a lot about. You tend not to focus a lot on the positives and instead will tend to dwell on the things that you didn't get right. Like, it's not like I sit up in the middle of the night, I'm like, ooh, this person, I hope they think I'm a good speaker. Nah, screw them. But yeah, it was something that I had reason to sort of think about sometime back. But yes, when maybe we'll try and make a little more progress on the game. But I will share the opening of Snow Crash with you at some point tonight. Okay, our research division has been studying the fragments of debris. We already read that. Yeah. Sorry. So this is one of the things I was going to talk with Kite about if he was still around. For those of you that don't know, the alien invasion is in fact within the solar system, and they're not bringing. Yeah, thank you, Rob. Yeah, so that's also not my quiet way of trying to get you all to give me storms of applause. Like the worst thing you can do for life is just be beholden to other people's compliments. You know, hopefully you will find that peace and that security with yourself that, you know, you maintain, I hate this term, but like some semblance of a growth mindset, right? That you will see slip-ups, you'll see cases where you could have gotten better, and you will use those to grow as opposed to sort of brood on them. But it's obviously nice to hear the nice things. So thank you. I'm actually also giving a presentation this week, so hopefully I don't completely blow it. Salvage alien technology. The more we learn about the aliens, the more our science teams are coming to feel that we are not as behind technologically as we initially feared. The alien designs are far more advanced than ours, and their material science is particularly impressive. But the alien equipment seems, for the most part, compatible with our own scientific understanding. If we can gain access to some working examples of alien technology, our research division believes that they should be able to reverse engineer them. I recommend that you select a small and vulnerable alien target so that we can swiftly overwhelm, enabling us to loot the field and withdraw before the aliens can respond. Yeah, well, I mean, who doesn't want to be recognized for their efforts, right? It's just, I think it's the difference between, like, I definitely know, and this is a danger that people can run into on Twitch, that if you do not have like constant chat activity, or if you're not seeing your growth go up, or any number of a bunch of metrics, and obviously there's lots of things that these platforms have done to make us really worried about that stuff, right? Do you have enough people follow? I mean, I cannot tell you how many times I've written an essay and I get to hear the reply, well, if you do anything, you'd have more followers on Twitter. Sure, okay, Kim Kardashian is the finest public intellectual of our time, sure. But and that's not to say she isn't smart, by the way, but, obviously she's got something going for her, because there's a lot of people who would like to be in that spot, but there's really only one person doing that right now, but she might be, but she's quite shy about it. Yeah. Well, again, like it depends on what you're measuring. I'm not gonna ask her econometrics questions. But yeah, I mean, like, obviously, there's no arguing with people like that, right? They're gonna bring up that argument if they have more followers than you, and if they don't, then they're gonna find some other reason to ignore you. So just, you can enjoy the rest of your day and just not worry about it. Incidentally, you'll notice here, so this isn't a great comparison just because there's been some time that these organizations have put towards it, but actually, I guess 2 weeks each. Yeah, we may be in the running, in fairness. So we're generating 2.4 a day. They've put 24. It's been a couple of weeks, so maybe we could try and catch up if we put everything into the global research, but I really don't want to influence the global research agenda quite yet. So, if you're not going to ask me any econometrics questions either. I'm not that big of a jerk. I was thinking of doing some econ at the start of the stream, but I wanted to make sure that I was doing Terra Invicta. Although I might have changed my mind if I'd known I had to start the save over again. It's not that I don't want to play Terra Invicta, just, I now have the option to sort of
We're taking over.
start over. All right, we've got El Salvador.
We still lack support.
Sacre bleu. Enemy counselor detective operatives with the resistance have detected someone in the Moscow region of Russia is acting as a counselor for one of the other secret organizations that has formed to address the alien arrival. We may send one of our counselors to investigate and learn more about this person.
We've got our people in place.
Cool.
Our associates were unable to take control.
Okay, so I'm going to come up with something else for that agent. So the servants now have Russia and the academy. Okay, so Russia's definitely a big battlefield. All right, so I want to try and do some investigations, I think. We've got an operative in Brazil, probably humanity first. I'm a little more interested in seeing that counselor in...
Ready to go.
Oops, not you.
Ready to go.
A little more interested in following up on that counselor in... Oh, hang on, surveil is different from investigate, so I don't have somebody who can investigate enemy counselors. Ah!
Targeting the opposition.
What's the op?
So, the tricky part here is I don't know if I want to put the effort into... Oh, interesting, that's...
Ready for my mission.
So I have a better chance of getting Canada than the Canadian. Alright, well... Toby will continue to work on Central America.
Standing by for orders.
Now, this is a bit of a flyer here. But I actually kind of want to give
Taking
this...
control.
I want to give this a shot. Do it as much as you want, just as long as you're not quizzed. And you could ask you econometrics questions. However, the answers you got will only make sense if you have an animal-level brain and think with biscuits. I mean, I'm going to... The plan was to do things from a textbook, so it's not like I'm going to ask everyone hard questions. But no, I have no intention of subjecting you all to the... You know, to my smart people books. However, the questions I was doing today were considerably...
Our only hope is to understand what the aliens want with us and determine how to satisfy them without losing our independence.
They're considerably easier than the ones that I did before. All right, the Protectorate has been encountered. We have encountered the Protectorate. The leaders of this organization are an alliance of officials who believe that the clandestine nature of the aliens' arrival marks them as a threat, but they have concluded that any species that can cross interstellar distances is nothing that humanity is capable of opposing.
We believe we can join them as brothers and sisters, if we only convince them we are worthy.
We have encountered the Academy. Led by members of Earth's scientific community, this faction has concluded that any species able to cross the stars must have moved beyond violence as a mechanism to resolve conflict. They assert that humanity must work to build a bridge to ensure that the aliens treat us as equals. So, once you start getting some more information about your about the other factions, the intel window will be populated. So, Commissioner Kiran Banerjee, goal: protect humanity by appeasing the aliens. Victory unknown. And then the Academy convinced the aliens that we're equals. I don't think we have... Oh, no, we do have information on resources. So, the Academy is better at generating influence than us. That's not surprising because they are able... Like, they start off with a lot of global support, I believe. We've been much more active with our ops than they have. So I wonder if that means that they just didn't follow up... if they just didn't follow through on the initial investigation. Both of them also outdo us as far as research, and in terms of overall control points, we are equal with the Protectorate, but the Academy controls more control points worth of nations than we do. However, it is also worth mentioning that we have a higher cap than them by a very small amount. So the Protectorate are in conflict with us, which is funny because I always sort of thought that there was some potential common ground with the Protectorate, but I should actually be pushing harder on the Protectorate. The Academy tolerates everyone, but they apparently get along with the Initiative, the Servants, the Project Exodus, and the Aliens, and we don't know anything about their tech. Curious, so who would humanity first put up against the wall? So Servants, Protectorate, Academy, obviously the Aliens. This is kind of interesting though, right? Like the Initiative, oh, so we do count as in conflict. Interesting. They tolerate humanity first, they tolerate the Servants, they tolerate the Protectorate and the Academy. It's only, sorry, no, the Academy and the Resistance are the only two that they don't like. I guess that's maybe because of idealism for humanity. It's also interesting to see that the Servants are in conflict with the Academy. But yeah, so Servants, Initiative, Protectorate are going to be the three that I prioritize in terms of overthrowing. Did I? Sorry, Vanguard Master. I think I've probably forgotten. Again, like I said, I'm really tired today, so. So this is a mission here that's going to get us to research a global tech. So that's going to be one of the ones where, in theory, we would want to set the global research agenda in line with We Are Not Alone. But as I mentioned, we've got two factions that outdo us with science right now. Man, this guy cannot get Guatemala no matter what he does.
We're taking over.
Okay, we'll keep going on Costa Rica.
Our supporters are in place.
Unbelievable. I'm just gonna make that a permanent assignment.
Our enemies are still in control.
All right. I did not think we were gonna get Canada that early. All right. Yeah, I'm pretty happy with where most people are. Okay, North Korea is now Project Exodus, so I guess we go over to Namibia. Although, let's see maybe if we can coup. Only 10% chance. It's maybe not entirely surprising that the places that are easy to coup aren't the places where people have set up control points.
Time for some new leadership.
We have completed the assign a counselor to a coup mission objective. Use increase unrest to weaken the enemy nation's economy, followed by a coup to overthrow the government and reset the nation's CPs. Okay, so I can't see that counselor anymore, and yeah. I'm just trying to be a little bit better at using the news roll to tell me about what's going on.
The coup failed.
Alright, well, we can try that again. 93 that was bad luck. Alien fleet detected. Surveillance telescopes have detected a new alien fleet transferring to low Earth orbit 1.
We're taking over.
Finally, I've gained the control point for the resistance in Guatemala. We now have 2 out of 2 control points there, and that was the executive control.
We've gained significant support.
And we now also have Costa Rica. So we may not necessarily keep all of these.
We still lack support.
But they give me what I need. All right, we may now appoint our faction's chief advisors. With our management team on board, we may now recruit our core group of advisors to assist our interactions and oversight with nations aligned to our cause. So we can focus on economic development. National investment points we direct to the economy priority are increased by 10%. Hire some steely-eyed missile women and men. So this will improve our space flight as well as our boost priorities. Call in the generals, so military and build army will go up higher. Now remember, the bigger the army that you have, the less investment you have for the other factors. And emphasize international aid, which will increase welfare and knowledge. Now, you can see that I have been investing in knowledge for my countries, and so perhaps the international aid bonus would be a nice place to go. But it's clear that boost is the big resource that's going to be deciding whether or not I'm actually going to achieve certain goals. So I'm gonna get the right stuff. Okay. Let's think about some reassignments.
Where do you need me?
What's the op?
So at this point, Andre is ready to make a move on Mexico, although I do want somebody to do... I think we need a combination of public campaigns and...
I'm here.
Control.
Putting our people in place.
So this is going to seem a little silly. Oh, nope. Okay, never mind. Toby, you can't do that.
Taking control.
So what I was originally going to try and do was get the judge to do a public campaign, but then I remembered the judge doesn't have the ability to do a public campaign. And Project Exodus is here. So maybe
ready for orders.
We try something else. 4% chance of a crackdown, not worth tipping my hand. Although again, we've got that Canada position, which I wasn't
Standing
expecting.
by for orders.
Yeah, 2%, that's not happening.
It has always been true that we must leave the cradle if our species is to survive. If these aliens are indeed hostile, the time to go is now.
We've encountered Project Exodus. This organization has its foundations in a group of tech magnates who were already funding space exploration before the alien arrival. Now, with proof of interstellar travel in front of all humanity, they are focusing their efforts on leading an expansion beyond Earth's solar system. So Russia definitely got locked down pretty quick.
The government is in better hands now.
Nice. Supporters of the resistance have engineered a coup d'etat in Tajikistan, resetting all control points and taking some control there under the regime. Some unrest has abated, and factions that supported the insurgents by contributing to unrest may gain control points under the new regime. My coup attempt in Tajikistan was a success, and we have rearranged the power structure there.
The people will come to our side.
Okay, I think I'm gonna make that a permanent assignment, although we do need to hurry up on Mexico because if Exodus was able to get a foothold there, I'm probably gonna
We've
before I
got
gotta
our
try it
people in
again.
place.
Okay, we'll continue on in Panama.
We were unable to establish control.
I think I'm just going to repeat that mission. It's kind of a flyer that it'll work, but give it enough attempts, and we'll have some lucky breaks. Okay. So this will give us public campaign, so that might be something I want to give the judge. So we've got the Alcaris Foundation, which will grant bonus to welfare, and Link's Protection, which will grant a bonus to protecting a target. It's not entirely clear to me why we want either one of these, so I guess the question is... Like, the extra points into welfare do seem kind of nice. We can always get rid of it after the fact. Okay, so let's think about...
Terminating the opposition.
Again, it's not a very high chance, but... Well, unless I can find a better coup target, so I guess it doesn't hurt. One thing that's kind of nice about being able to browse the globe is if you see a higher percentage in certain regions and you see an enemy icon, you can change your plans. Yeah, it looks like people are pretty happy with stable parts of the world right now, so we're just gonna leave that alone.
The trick is not to look directly at what you are trying to see. Offset your focal point somewhere to the side of where you think you notice the movement. At night, the center of your vision doesn't work as well as during the day. I won't try to explain the science to you. What matters is you'll see whatever is out there before they see you. Colonel Hans Castillo, advising conscripts in Colombia.
The span of time humanity has spent in space is dwarfed by the span of time that humanity has been interested in it. Earliest records of the telescope date to the turn of the 17th century, with regular advancement made every century thereafter. It therefore follows that, on the shoulders of programs such as SETI, we consolidate our resources into a unified observation and surveillance program so that we can maintain active, constant surveillance on the nearer parts of the solar system. Allows all factions to track alien vessels and structures that are inside the orbit of Saturn, and immediately reveals all alien vessels and habitats within our detection range. So it also enables Deep System Skywatch.
The Surat al-Baqarah teaches that in the creation of heaven and earth a wise people may find the signs of Allah. Let us heed those words and join together as we take our search into the stars. Director Khalid al-Ashgar from his khutbah at the first conclave of Muslim astrophysicists.
Existing in space is a different animal than merely traversing it. If we plan to go from tourist to resident, we must adapt. Logistics requires resupply missions planned months in advance, while engineering must cope with long-term exposure to solar radiation and the rigors of equipment maintenance in a vacuum. Likewise, our psychologists must develop a training regimen so personnel are able to maintain peak performance in an environment where up and down do not exist. We have, of course, been able to travel to space for some time, but now we must establish how to do so easily, regularly, and cost-effectively, and in far greater numbers than ever before. This renewed mission to space thus entails a mission to change many of our most fundamental preconceptions. Yet all these hardships are entirely necessary, for only once we are comfortably beyond Earth's orbit can we hope to explore, exploit, and ultimately even settle upon neighboring worlds, and in time, perhaps far beyond. Alright, so we are not alone. This is what the Protectorate is researching, so this actually works in line with what I'm interested in anyway. We've got advanced electromagnetism, so that is what That's what Project Exodus chose, and presumably deep space propulsion concepts as well. So I believe this is a separate one which we are now able to see as a result of the... I believe this is the result of the tech that we just researched. It's certainly quite far away from Earth. Although the fact that we can see it already tells us that it's... Am I not allowed to... Yeah, there we go. As you can see, it's within Saturn. Give it a few more days and we'll be in real...
We've moved the needle.
Our adversaries have conducted a crackdown on our aristocracy control point in Guatemala.
We're taking over.
Okay, we've got Panama now. And Alien Fleet Victor 1 has arrived in low Earth orbit 1. So again, not
we
much
still
we
lack
can do
support.
about that. We basically just wait for them to slam into the planet, but I'll keep an eye on
Our
the
associates
aliens.
were unable to take control.
I'm going to go continue rather than repeat because I'm sort of always looking for something. Oh, here we go. UFO crashes on Earth. An alien vessel has crashed down in the Kharkiv region. I'm sure there's more details. Oh yeah, Kharkiv region in Ukraine. Have you played enough to have a feel of the difference between each playthrough? You mean the different types of factions? I've definitely made more progress than... Actually, I think the last time I was on stream was probably the most progress I've made, so that's maybe not true anymore, but... one of the biggest differences that I can share is that if you go to the codex here, so we've got tutorial objectives right now, which are building your council and gain a control point in a large nation. Campaign objectives, investigate alien abductions, research alien origin, salvage alien technology. These are specific to the Resistance. Now, I kind of want to be careful on this because I couldn't tell you for sure, and I suspect because there are some overlaps with, with objectives. I wouldn't be surprised if a few of these were similar to other factions. But it is fair to say that there is a narrative to this game. So the game plays kind of coy with the nature of, it plays coy with the aliens' intentions. There's some suggestion that, we're unsure about what the alien invasion is, or whether or not there's actually an alien invasion or not. Now, the fact of the matter is that if you're buying a game called Terra Invicta, and second of all, because, genres are a thing, we don't just buy games sight unseen. We buy them because they seem interesting, and usually they seem interesting because they are in a style that's similar to stuff that we've played before. And, given the fact that it's, they call it Grand Strategy, they call it 4X, there's a lot of different things that get sort of bandied about. I don't think anybody really goes into this game saying, I wonder if the aliens are peaceful or not. I'll play as the Academy. So, there's the narration that the game is giving you, but I'm not entirely... I don't even know if it's a weakness, but I sometimes think maybe they play up the uncertainty a little bit more than is entirely necessary. Because, there's just some stuff you're going to take for granted when you're picking up and buying the game. It's sort of like, picking up XCOM, and, the first few turns are, I wonder if the aliens come in peace. No, it's XCOM. I mean, what did you watch the trailer for? So, yeah, that's, again, that's such a minor point, I actually feel a little bit bad making it. But it definitely gets quite interesting. So this might count as a spoiler. Maybe mute the stream for like a minute or two if you really want to go in pure. But I'd say this is a very minor point that I'll bring up. But I'm about to talk about it now, so just mute it for a minute if you need. But there is the revelation that basically the aliens are actually originating from the solar system. That their technology is not... I mean, actually, I don't know that much about the technology, but essentially that they have got their base of operations. They've transported that, but for whatever reason, they have found it more logistically efficient to mine our system for resources and deliver its armies that way, as opposed to flying, an entire armada. And again, that's not obvious at the start. It's hinted at after you research. I don't think it's alien signatures. I think it's, or maybe it was alien signatures. But yeah, like there is some, like, even the idea of abductions, right? That comes later, and that is a revelation that you get by fulfilling certain objectives. And the objectives are not going to be the same for every organization. Again, sorry, the music's going away, but I will... I haven't actually looked at this. I just know that it's here. I think it's under factions. Yeah, so I'm actually gonna be really careful in terms of, okay. Oh, actually, this is kind of helpful for us. So I'm gonna go up to, yeah. So I've gone up to somewhere around here. So investigate the alien crash, that's available to everyone. Research alien signatures, again, available to everyone. But you notice then you have research the alien origin. Well, that's not something that... Hey, Takri, how you doing? That's not something that the servants have. Salvage alien technology, that's an even smaller number. So in this case, the Protectorate isn't in there. But research alien methods, everybody does that one. And as you scroll down, so if you are interested in seeing where this goes, and this maybe you're trying to decide whether or not this game is for you, and whether or not like if you're playing a game and you're kind of interested in the story, and I do think, like I've said this on a few streams, this game punches above its weight in terms of the in terms of sort of the topics and the themes that it does. Like it could have just been a good strategy game, but I actually think that the story and how it communicates things, like I said, I think it is actually contributing something to the alien invasion story. I can actually see someone being interested in this game because they're interested in strategy games, but also they're interested in strategy games that have a story. Because that would be true for me for Civilization Beyond Earth and Sid Meier's Alpha Centauri. But one of the things is, right, you don't want to put 20 hours into a game only to find out that the ending is, maybe not quite your thing. So if you want that wiki that I linked earlier, if you go to the factions page, you can actually see what all the mission objectives are, and they'll give you roughly an idea of where the story is going. But I don't know. I'd like some surprises for myself still. I should let you know, Kree, we are on a new playthrough for this because, unfortunately, I don't know if they just don't have cloud saves enabled or if something else happened, but regrettably, we're not in a position to, regrettably, we weren't able to preserve the previous run. Sorry, I'm really tired, so was gonna try and get my rebel to do
alien sites.
some fancy stuff, but it just occurred to me that I actually need to investigate the crash first. Okay, Toby, let's get you to control nations again. Although this time I mean, there are opportunities in South America, but maybe we go harder in Canada? Actually, we've got a better chance in Mexico, it looks like.
We'll bring this nation
I could spend
to our side.
I could spend some influence, but it's probably not the best call right now. I figure I'll save that influence for other activities. It happens. It's a chance for me to try a few new approaches. I was kind of interested in seeing where that playthrough was going to go, but we can still do our best with what we've got here. It might also just be a chance for me to
we hold no sway in their minds.
You know, stop and smell the roses and see. Oh, there's another counselor here somewhere.
The dreamer in me wants to believe it would bring a golden age of advancement and prosperity for all mankind. But I'm a realist. I know better. Any race advanced enough to find us would be advanced enough to end us, likely without even regarding us. Commander Fiona Ayawade, NATO Symposium on First Contact.
The quiet assurance that humans have carried for so long is gone. The knowledge that we share the universe with at least one other sapient species has caused reverberations throughout our entire society. The very fabric of civilization is being stretched to its breaking point as conflicting voices shout ever louder above one another. It falls to our leaders, current and future, to rally our thrilled and frightened masses. Now more than ever, we must come together as a people and prove to the universe that although we may no longer be its center as we once believed, we are no less important. And going on to Deep System Skywatch. Okay, agents of the Servants have engineered a coup d'etat in Syria. On we go.
Recon complete.
But yeah, sorry, what I was saying before was, you know, there may be some value in me doing this as a YouTube series, because then I'm not sort of confined to the time that it takes to do a live broadcast. I can sort of go for shorter or longer periods of time. I might be able to break them up in slightly more intelligent ways. But the thing is if I put everything to a YouTube priority, then again, it's just like your financing in this game. Like, if everything's a priority, then nothing's a priority. So, I don't know. We'll figure it out. But it does seem like people are still interested in this. And I guess as long as you like seeing it live, I'm happy to still do it. Although, again, there's lots of really interesting Hooded Horse stuff. I'd still like to go back to Old World again, because there's plenty of scenarios we haven't touched yet. Nuts. Sorry, I just need to renew a library book really quick. It's an ebook, so I just got the notification. Oh, come on. All right. Taking too long.
We failed to take control.
So again, this is as expected. It's we don't have.
We failed to take control.
It's like a less than 1 in 4 chance of these things working. I'm really relying more on just sort of spamming the. Our control point in Canada would be better protected from enemy purges with a defend interest mission. I agree, but I kind of want to do that stuff after I.
Ready for my mission.
Okay, as always, we see if we can do something fancy. All right, so we can purge the Australian mass media. I was not expecting that.
Targeting the opposition.
But I'm happy to give it a shot. Nope, we're paused. And I would love to go to the library, but they're not open that late, and
Public opinion remains unmoved.
Would possibly fall over myself. Oh, alien abductions reported. We are receiving reports of possible alien abductions in the San Salvador region in El Salvador. So we're going to get my other counselor to work on that really quick.
Our people have taken control.
Nice. We have purged supporters of the Academy and taken a control point for the Resistance in Australia. Now that was an 80 on a 96, so I got lucky there.
We've gained significant support.
Nice. 2 of 3 in Canada. Keep doing that.
Our supporters are in place.
We have completed the gain a control point in a large nation objective. We now have a foothold in a large nation. Consider sending your counselors on more control nation missions here to take control of the executive control point, which would allow us to set this nation's national policy. Whatever you decide, continue to build a coalition of nations that will help us face the alien threat. As stated before, control points may be attacked by other factions via the Crackdown and Purge missions, so it may be wise to use the Defend Interests mission in this nation to discourage this behavior. Now, it's obviously not Canada that counts.
Remember, Commander, we have enemies out there, and not just extraterrestrial ones.
Apparently Canada doesn't count as a large nation in this. So Defend Interests is a useful defensive tool to prevent enemy factions from successfully completing Crackdown, Purge, and Coup missions. It is highly recommended to defend your most valuable nations. Its protections will expire and must be renewed periodically. Use the Defend Interests on nations with CPs under your control to protect them from enemy counselor missions. Hostile missions are much less likely to succeed on defended
Research
CPs.
stations, space docks, resupply hubs. We are going to need it all. When you think we are ready, take the leap into orbit.
Space stations, or platforms, are humanity's foothold in outer space and critical to industrializing space and building a war fleet. Stations are composed of modules that grant bonuses to research and other resources and allow construction of ships and additional modules. We should start stockpiling boost and a couple of points of mission control in preparation for founding a station. Save sufficient money, boost, and mission control to afford to launch a platform core module. Then zoom out on Earth to a distance that the nation boundaries are no longer visible, and click the planet. From the icons at the bottom of the screen, select the Found Platform icon, select an orbit around Earth in which the station will reside, and confirm by clicking the Found Platform button. Okay, we've got a point in Mexico. We'll repeat that. So yes, Mexico is a large nation. Canada, they can go to hell. The United States of America has an open control point with good boost income. Let's target it to support our space program. Thanks. And what are our chances of succeeding? First of all, we'll investigate.
We'll see what we can
We're
find.
actually getting short on ops. I wonder. American Hezbollah? They're not going to let me. So Humanity First has gotten France. It's not clear if they'll unify the European Union, but obviously they're on maneuvers. Okay.
Standing by for orders.
Yes, so Toby, who recommended we try for the United States, would have no chance of success.
Ready for my mission.
I think we just keep with the same efforts here. I don't think there's a lot of value in switching it up. Hello, Grey D12. How you doing? I'm very, very tired, but otherwise okay. For those of you wondering what the... Oh, hang on.
Public opinion is moving in our direction.
Oof, that's a nastier one. Our adversaries have conducted a crackdown on our mass media control point in Canada. The 8th Guards Army is greatly underperforming in its battles near Kharkiv. So I'm assuming that's the Academy's Russian units. Now, just because they've done crackdowns on us doesn't necessarily mean that they take the points, but obviously that's one... That one's,
We found something.
trickier for us. I've learned some useful information from my investigation of the alien activity in El Salvador. We have received a small bonus to our xenology research going forward. Objective complete. We have completed the Investigate Alien Abductions objective. Our counselor has investigated some of these reported abductions, interviewing residents and local authorities. The local government continues to deny that anything has happened, and in fact has done its best to actively hinder us. Though we have no proof as yet, we suspect that other organizations are pulling strings to block our investigations. Despite the obstacles, our counselor has confirmed that a small but statistically significant number of people and animals have gone missing in the area since the alien crash landing. This is disturbing news. Many among our faction had clung to the hope that despite their secrecy, the intentions of the aliens towards our species might be benevolent, or at least neutral. These apparent abductions leave little chance of that, but what is their purpose? All evidence suggests that the aliens are abducting human subjects, but why? Are they trying to communicate, studying us, hunting us? Or do they have some other purpose, something so truly alien that it is wholly beyond our understanding? We have many questions and few answers. For now, all we have to go on is the abductions themselves. Our analysts have proposed a more detailed study of the abduction data in hopes of discovering some patterns or avenues of research. So we'll wait till we... Oh, there it is. So I would like to finish management research at some point, but I do like doing these, the objectives as early as possible. Okay, so the Protectorate made their move on Guatemala. We'll just try and take that back with my rebel. I'm hoping people don't try
We
to
were
do the
unable
same.
to establish control.
1% off.
We were unable to establish control.
And the Project... Oh no, hang on. Project Exodus always had something in Mexico. Okay. So, not MV.
Standing by.
Okay, so we want to crack it before we, well,
We're taking power.
we'll try one.
Ready.
MV... It's 21% chance in Guatemala. Is it worth... No, I think we probably
Establishing our presence.
keep going in Canada then. This is not as big of a priority just because we are, like, in the end, we're using this as a leg up for Mexico, which is going to be a leg up for the United States. But I want to, where I can, I'd like to try and have, more of my backyard under my control. Okay, any orgs that are interesting? Economy spoils and space mining output bonus. Atlantic Interactive. Okay, so... Joint Task Force 2. Vanguard Master might have some opinions on that. How you doing, Index Gnome? So that's going to be good for Ops. That one... Okay, so... Oh, right, but my Rebel can't because... Wait, why can't they? They've got admin 1. This is 1 star. Counselor must have government... right, okay. Because they're not a government character. So we can have an Indian judge or a Russian politician in charge of Joint Task Force 2. Ah, see, this is how we know that Vanguard Master is a member. Unfortunately, neither of these are exactly where I would want them, for the simple reason that they make the security and the command go up. I guess the Russian has the better command. Okay, so Atlantic Interactive will improve... Okay, that's investigation and espionage, so I believe that's better for my judge. And then... Doesn't really matter who gets this, but I am going to give this to Toby Brainerd. Yes, for those actually, obviously we haven't made a ton of progress tonight, but this is kind of it. So one of the other things that's neat about Terra Invicta is how well researched it is. So for those of you, I think for those of you that play Rainbow Six, you're probably familiar with this. But this is a neat little bit of, not even Canadian history, but just something of the structure of our forces. So Joint Task Force 2, Joint Task Force 2, or JTF-2, is an elite special operations force of the Canadian Armed Forces, serving under the Canadian Special Operations Forces Command. JTF-2 is known to work with other special operations forces, such as Delta Force, SEAL Team 6, the British SAS, and the British SBS. The unit has distinguished itself as a world-class special operations unit. Serving as the centerpiece of Canadian Special Operations, JTF-2 is primarily tasked with counterterrorism operations both domestic and abroad, and specializes in direct action, special reconnaissance and surveillance, hostage rescue, protective security, foreign internal defense, and other high-value tasks. Much of the information regarding JTF-2 is classified and is not commented on by the Government of Canada, up to and including, where was it? Yeah, the size. History. In 1992, Deputy Minister of Defense Robert Fowler announced that he was recommending to Governor General Ray Natchin that he disbanded the Royal Canadian Mounted Police Special Emergency Response Team, CERT, to create a new military counterterrorism group. The decision was made largely because the Canadian Forces offered a greater pool of recruits for the program than civilian police forces, and it stemmed the public uproar about the police being taught to use primarily lethal means. In early 1993, the unit was activated with just over 100 members, primarily drawn from the Canadian Airborne Regiment and Princess Patricia's Canadian Light Infantry. By the way, did you know that there is a unit in well, Vanguard Master might know this, but I believe in Canada we do still have a unit called the Black Watch. Is it the Black? Yeah, I'm pretty sure it's the Black Watch. I don't even care if they're chefs, like, or cooks, or you don't want to mess with anybody named the Black Watch. They were given the CERT facility on Dwyer Hill Road near Ottawa as their own base of operations, and primarily parked a Greyhound bus and a DC-9 aircraft on the grounds for use in training. Its first scheduled action was Operation Campus, the protection of highways and water treatment plants around the Oka Reserve, while the police force tried to crack down on smuggling on the native reserve immediately following the Oka crisis. However, two daily newspapers in Quebec revealed the operation just days before it was to go into action, and it was cancelled. The federal budget of December 2001 allocated approximately $120 million over 6 years to expand the unit capabilities and double its size to an estimated 600 personnel as part of the overall plan following the attacks of September 11, 2001. Battle Honors. Joint Task Force 2's motto is Facta non verba, Latin for deeds, not words. JTF-2 does not carry individual battle honors, but instead shares the motto Ubique everywhere with the Royal Regiment of Canadian Artillery and the Corps of Royal Canadian Engineers. Operations. How long is it? I'll try and do it quick. War on Terror is obviously the longest one for, well, that's kind of why they got such a big budget increase. Bosnia. JTF-2 forces were inserted into Bosnia, operating in 2 to 4 man teams hunting for Serbian snipers who were targeting UN forces at the Sniper Alley. They were scheduled to free approximately 55 hostages in Operation Freedom 55, but the mission was cancelled as the Bosnian Serbs released all the prisoners voluntarily. Haiti. In 1996, JTF-2 deployed to Haiti to advise the security forces of President René Preval on methods to repel the Revolutionary Army, train local SWAT teams, and raid weapons smugglers in Port-au-Prince. According to the Canadian Broadcasting Corporation, JTF-2 was also in Haiti at the time that Haitian President Jean-Bertrand Aristide was ousted from power in 2004. They protected the Canadian embassy and secured the airport. I'm pretty sure these are the ones who helped secure Trudeau during his visit to Ukraine as well, but... War on Terror. In the aftermath of the September 11th attacks, the American declaration of a war on terror, approximately 40 JTF-2 soldiers were sent to southern Afghanistan in early December 2001 to be part of Task Force K-Bar, under the command of Captain Robert Harwood. The Canadian public was not informed of the deployment. However, in Sean M. Maloney's book, Enduring the Freedom, it was reported that JTF-2 was secretly deployed without Prime Minister Jean Chrétien's permission in early October 2001. Under Task Force K-Bar, JTF-2 worked extensively with the U.S. 3rd Special Forces Group. One of their first missions in Afghanistan was what Hayward described as the first coalition direct action mission since the Second World War. The joint operation with a team of Green Berets targeting a Taliban command node almost ended in disaster when a Chinook carrying JTF-2 operations was forced to make a hard landing near the target site. While serving with Task Force K-Bar, Harwood also stated that the JTF-2 team under his command was his first choice for any direct action. Several months later, the Globe and Mail published an image on its front page showing operators in distinctive forest green Canadian Forces combat uniforms delivering captured prisoners to Americans. This prompted an outcry in Parliament as MPs were never informed these operations were underway. Vice Admiral Greg Madison was called before a standing committee on procedure and House Affairs to address claims that the Minister of Defense, Art Eggleton, had purposely misled the public and the government, even failing to inform the Prime Minister that JTF-2 had been operating in Afghanistan. Segments of the Canadian media made much of the Special Forces handing over of detainees, particularly those who may have been sent to Guantanamo Bay. In January 2002, JTF-2 deployed reconnaissance teams to the series of caves discovered in Zwarkili, just south of Tora Bora. Airstrikes hit the sites before SOF teams were inserted into the area. A platoon from SEAL Team 3, including several of their desert patrol vehicles, accompanied by a German commando, I'm so bad at this, Spezialkraft element and a Norwegian SOF team, spent some 9 days conducting extensive site exploitation, clearing an estimated 70 caves and 60 structures in the area, recovering a huge amount of both intelligence and munitions, but they did not encounter any Al-Qaeda fighters. In March 2002, JTF-2 reconnaissance teams took part in Operation Anaconda. They also conduct close protection tasks and participated in numerous direct action missions, allegedly including the siege at Mirwais Hospital in Kandahar. Again, apologies for pronunciation. Where a U.S. Army Special Forces Operation Detachment A killed a group of Al-Qaeda terrorists hiding in a hospital ward. JTF-2 also carried out numerous operations with the New Zealand Special Air Service. JTF-2's first rotation was completed when they returned to Canada in May 2002, to be replaced by a second shorter-term deployment until October 2002. In 2004, an estimated 40 members of JTF-2 serving with Task Force K-Bar were awarded the Presidential Unit Citation by the U.S. government for service in Afghanistan. Very little is known of JTF-2 operations in Afghanistan, but during a conference, the former Chief of Defense Staff, General Rick Hillier, stated that JTF-2 was in high demand and that they were considered to be world-class. He went on to say that the unit was providing direct support to the Afghan government and was targeting the Taliban leadership in southern Afghanistan. He stated that trying to help neutralize those leaders is a key part of their role, and that's what they will continue to do. On the 26th of November 2005, members of the terrorist group Swords of Righteousness Brigade, a small offshoot of possibly Islamic Army in Iraq, Ansar al-Islam, Army of Islam, or a cover name for their abduction cells, or freelance cash criminal abductors, kidnapped 4 members, 2 Canadian, 1 British, 1 American, of the Christian Peacemaker teams in Baghdad, Iraq. In response, Task Force Knight, the British Special Forces task force in Iraq, initiated Operation Lightwater, spearheaded by B Squadron 22 Special Air Service Regiment, the aim of which was to find and recover the hostages. A small team of JTF-2 and Canadian intelligence experts joined the task force for the operation, whilst the United States provided technical intelligence to the operation. Together, the force carried out relentless raids across the city, building up a picture by exploiting intelligence in the search for the hostages. Especially on the 23rd of March 2006, the 3 remaining hostages who were rescued by the SAS. Eventually. The Pentagon and the British Foreign Offices both commented on the instrumental role the JTF-2 played in rescuing the British and Canadian Christian Peacemaker team that were being held hostage in Iraq. Involvement of JTF-2 was not confirmed by Canadian officials. There has been much speculation by the Canadian media on possible JTF-2 operational deployments. As of 2001, the unit had 297 members, but by the end of the year, with the war on terror becoming a reality, the federal government announced their intentions to increase it to 600 members within 4 years. As of 2014, the unit was believed to be in Iraq as training personnel under the Canadian Operation Impact, which is part of Operation Inherent Resolve. The Canadian government has not denied or confirmed JTF-2's involvement. In June 2017, it was reported that a JTF-2 sniper in Iraq had shot and killed an ISIL fighter from a distance of 3,540 meters, 2.2 miles, setting a world record for the longest confirmed kill. The shot was taken from a high-rise building using a standard Canadian military-issued Macmillan TAC-50 rifle, a 50 caliber anti-materiel rifle, commonly used by snipers in an anti-personnel role. The Canadian Forces designation is the C-15 Long-Range Sniper Weapon, LRSW. Oh, my apologies. There's a little bit more. Other actions. Vice Admiral Dean McFadden also confirmed that JTF-2 would take a role in securing the 2010 Winter Olympics and the 2010 Winter Paralympics. JTF-2 has also acted as bodyguards to Canadians traveling abroad, most notably accompanying Lieutenant General Maurice Beryl and Raymond Chrétien to Zaire in November 1996. When photographs provided to the media were revealed to show faces of JTF-2 forces, they were redacted and reissued with the faces removed. In 1998, they accompanied General Romeo Dallaire to Tanzania, where he was due to testify against a Rwandan Hutu official accused of complicity in the 1994 genocide. They similarly accompanied war crimes prosecutor Louise Arbour into Kosovo. In early November 2000, conservative defense critic David Price stated that JTF-2 had been deployed to Kosovo. However, this was denied by Prime Minister Jean Chrétien and Defense Minister Art Eggleton. The unit was believed to be operating with the Special Air Service and Special Boat Service in Operation Mobile, the Canadian operation in the 2011 Libyan Civil War. In August 2021, JTF-2 and CSOR operations were deployed to Afghanistan to evacuate staff from the Canadian Embassy in Kabul. In May 2022, Prime Minister Justin Trudeau visited Ukraine to show solidarity and to witness the war for himself alongside members of the cabinet. As part of the security detail, they were accompanied by members of JTF-2. Unit accountability, and that'll be the last bit that I read. And on 21st of December 2006, a federal court judge rejected a request to proceed with a court-martial against an unnamed JTF-2 officer accused of assaulting and mistreating a subordinate. Because court-martial requests require that the accused be named, the judge suggested that they explore other avenues to proceed with court-martial. JTF-2 has acknowledged the death of one member. Master Corporal Anthony Klempenauer, 25, died on April 18, 2007, after falling off of a communications tower in Kandahar, Afghanistan. In 2010, the investigation into Klempenauer's death was completed and revealed that he had been knocked unconscious by a surge of electricity. So, how interesting people find these things, that's going to vary, but this is one of the things I do kind of like about the game, right? Like, you can see why they made particular choices, the way, like, you can see why they made particular decisions, right? Of course, it makes sense that this is going to be increasing the operations income. And it's fair to say that this would also affect command as well. Security, well, that's pretty much in line. That's why I took the extra time to talk about the other deployments. Every single one of these things is something that you can find from, and again, I know I over-rely on Wikipedia. It's just a nice, convenient, individual reference. Now, I suppose it is kind of interesting. We can compare Joint Task Force 2 to Hezbollah. And in this case, we'd get assassinate, increase unrest, sabotage facilities, assault alien assets. We'd get persuasion, 3 operations, 2 espionage, 1 command, and 2 security. So I suppose Hezbollah is more capable than JTF-2, which is probably actually true just in terms of numbers and reach. But still, it's a little funny to think about. Obviously, JTF-2 is one particular. Hey, Whiskey is amazing. How you doing? Obviously, that's. JTF-2 is one part of the Canadian Armed Forces. So. Oh yeah, I wouldn't dispute the persuasion, but the idea of operations is probably something that would maybe make you scratch your head. Although again, like, obviously considerably larger. So. But in any case, like, I kind of like this stuff because I always think it's fun when games give you little hooks that you can find new things with, or when they give you little hooks where, you can just be interested, or, it just reminds you of things that you already know about and you like, I don't know, I tend to find this sort of stuff to be rewarding, but Yep, you met your match, Whiskey. We've lost the mass media control point in Canada to Project Exodus. Many of our people are no longer responding to our communications, and we have lost a significant amount of power over events there. So that's definitely going to make life difficult for me. But we do have a fancy new control point in Mexico, which is good.
We still lack support.
I'm definitely going to have to hammer away at Project Exodus for my North American stronghold. You adore the Fallout series for all the little narrative stories and bits all over the world that show more than tell.
We are in control now.
Okay, that's good. I wasn't actually expecting that outcome, but I'm happy about it. So let's take a look at
Reporting in.
Which of these two purges is more likely. So 15 for Mexico and 1 in Canada. So let's work on
removing
the Mexican
our enemies.
corporations first. And I think we're just going to carry on with... our... Actually, no, there is one thing I want to change. So we've got a really strong presence for the resistance in Mexico now. Definitely not true for Canada. So I'm going to move...
Where to?
Even though Andre is actually somebody who I would, in theory, want working on...
I will try to sway the public.
Even though I would like him to be working on gaining control points, he's very useful for the public campaign. So we'll confirm those assignments. And this might be the last little round that I go through, because I did promise that I was going to do a little bit of Snow Crash for you. But let's see if we can put a bow on this turn.
Our cause is unjustified to them.
Okay, that's going to be a permanent assignment for him, I think. I would like to start working on the US as well, but obviously we're fighting for North America, so the best would be for me to get all of my control points back, and then we can lock it down.
We still lack support.
I should have made that a permanent assignment.
We were unable to establish control.
The opposition remains in power.
One more.
They are not life forms or xenosapiens. They are demons incarnate. They and the traitors who support them will face our judgment.
This faction, Humanity First, this faction has gathered all of Earth's xenophobia into its ranks. Its followers have railed against the alien arrival without nuance, and they have even threatened humans who support finding a way to communicate with the aliens. Okay, let's just see if there's any more fancy... Yeah, no more organizations to... And let's research clandestine... Oh no, hang on, we're working on alien methods first. So we'll just let that be. Brush war with Great Lakes states has caused significant damage.
We're winning their hearts and minds.
Okay, starting to make progress in Canada. Obviously, not having mass media, we've kind of blunted our ability
We've gained significant support.
Excellent. Okay, so we own Mexico now.
Our presence is growing.
Our
Cool.
associates were unable to take control.
Okay, so there's nothing really for me to do. So essentially what we're going to be working on at this point, let's see, can we crack? 49% to crack
Turning up the
Mexico. I
heat.
think we probably want to take that.
Reporting in.
10%, 49. Okay, so we'll do what we can to crack.
Applying pressure on their people.
Reporting in.
And I guess at this point we just keep working on whatever control we can get. At this point I think I'm just going to go for whatever high probability.
Establishing control.
So, because we always have the option of just abandoning the nation when it comes down to it. Did we already check? Yeah, these are all the same.
Every circumstance is an opportunity. Our test is to recognize and seize it.
The initiative. The leaders of this shadowy cabal reveal little about themselves or their methods. In some regions, they are behind rampant rumors that the alien arrival is a fabrication by Earth's governments and corporations. In others, they have founded companies selling products that allegedly protect from a fictitious alien disease they seem to have made up. So, other than the servants, we have a pretty good idea of who each of these factions are now and what they want. But I think I'm going to wrap it up here. We are just a couple months away from our from the real time. I am going to host someone tonight, but I did promise I was going to read a little bit of Snow Crash just because it's a very memorable opening. So I'm going to go to just chatting for a little while, and then we'll host. So if you are, I'd love it if you'd hang around. One, because I think Snow Crash has got a really good opening, but number two, just so that we can show some support. I will try and find a Terra Invicta stream or someone else who is equally worthy of your time. But we will go for the quote. The Earth is a very small stage in a vast cosmic arena. Think of the rivers of blood spilled by all those generals and emperors so that, in glory and triumph, they could become the momentary masters of a fraction of a dot. Carl Sagan. All right, this is November, we're still 28th, right? I might spend a little bit of time with the initiative on my own time, but let me just take a quick second here to switch to just chatting really quick. I gotta find the book too, but actually, tell you what, I'm going to be back in just a quick second because I also need to go to the bathroom. This is the worst thing that I could do. I do encourage you to hang out for a little bit because it won't be long, but I do actually need to go to the bathroom really quick. So now may be a good time for you to maybe get a stretch yourself and otherwise take care of yourself. I'll make sure I get the book while I'm up, though. Okay. Thank you for your patience. So, I mean, there's no real tie-in to Terra Invicta or anything like that. It's just, it came up in conversation, so I figured I'll give you a small taste if you are not familiar with the book. This book is from 1992, so it's an old person's book. Basically, this is... So Neuromancer definitely gets a lot of credit for, kind of originating cyberpunk and being kind of being this touchstone. Snow Crash probably is getting a little bit of a second life because it's the book that coined the term the metaverse. And so, people are kind of talking about that now. It's definitely very different from Neuromancer. So I was going to read the back cover, but it's actually probably better that I just give you the introduction. I think it's a pretty decent way to start a book. And eventually I'm going to figure out where to end this line. But all right, this is Snow Crash by Neil Stevenson. Chapter 1. The Deliberator belongs to an elite order, a hallowed subcategory. He's got a spree up to here. Right now, he's preparing to carry out his third mission of the night. His uniform is black as activated charcoal, filtering the very light out of the air. A bullet will bounce off its arachnofiber weave like a wren hitting a patio door, but excess perspiration wafts through it like a breeze through a freshly napalmed forest. Where his body has bony extremities, the suit has sintered armor gel, feels like gritty jello, protects like a stack of telephone books. When they gave him the job, they gave him a gun. The Deliberator never deals in cash, but someone might come for him anyway, might want his car or his cargo. The gun is tiny, aero-style, lightweight, the kind of gun a fashion designer would carry. It fires teensy darts that fly at 5 times the velocity of an SR-71 spy plane, and when you get done using it, you have to plug the thing into the cigarette lighter because it runs on electricity. The Deliberator has never pulled that gun in anger or in fear. He pulled it once in Gila Highlands. Some punks in Gila Highlands, a fancy burbclave, wanted themselves a delivery, and they didn't want to pay for it. Thought they would impress the Deliberator with a baseball bat. The Deliberator took out his gun, centered its laser doohickey on that poised Louisville slugger, and fired it. The recoil was immense, as though the weapon had blown up in his hand. The middle third of the baseball bat turned into a column of burning sawdust, accelerating in all directions like a bursting star. Punk ended up holding this bat handle with milky smoke pouring out of the end. Stupid look on his face. Didn't get nothing but trouble from the Deliberator. Since then, the Deliberator has kept the gun in the glove compartment and relied instead on a matched set of samurai swords, which have always been his weapon of choice anyhow. The punks in Gila Highlands weren't afraid of the gun, so the Deliberator was forced to use it, but swords need no demonstration. The Deliberator's car has enough potential energy packed into its batteries to fire a pound of bacon into the asteroid belt. Unlike a bimbo box or a burb beater, the Deliberator's car unloads that power through gaping, gleaming, polished sphincters. When the Deliberator puts the hammer down, shit happens. You want to talk contact patches? Your car's tires have tiny contact patches. Talk to the asphalt in 4 places the size of your tongue. The Deliberator's car has big sticky tires with contact patches the size of a fat lady's thighs. The Deliberator is in touch with the road. Starts like a bad day, stops on a peseta. Why is the Deliberator so equipped? Because people rely on him. He's a role model. This is America. People do whatever the fuck they feel like they're doing. You got a problem with that? Because they have a right to. And because they have guns and no one can fucking stop them. As a result, this country has one of the worst economies in the world. When it gets down to it, talking trade balances here, once we brain drained all our technology into other countries, once things have evened out, they're making cars in Bolivia and microwave ovens in Tajikistan and selling them here. Once our edge in natural resources has been made irrelevant by giant Hong Kong ships and dirigibles that can ship North Dakota all the way to New Zealand for a nickel, once the invisible hand has taken all those historical inequities and smeared them out in a broad global layer of what the Pakistani brickmaker would consider to be prosperity, you know what? There's only 4 things that we do better than anyone else. Sorry, I stumbled over that. Music, movies, microcode, software, and high-speed pizza delivery. The Deliberator used to make software, still does sometimes. But if life were Mellow Elementary School run by well-meaning education PhDs, the Deliberator's report card would say, Hero is so bright and creative, but needs to work harder on his cooperation skills. So now he has this other job. No brightness or creativity involved, but no cooperation either. Just a single principle. The Deliberator stands tall, your pie in 30 minutes, or you can have it free, shoot the driver, take his car, file a class action lawsuit. The Deliberator has been working this job for 6 months, a rich and lengthy tenure by his standards, and has never delivered a pizza in more than 21 minutes. Oh, they used to argue overtimes. Many corporate driver years lost to it. Homeowners red-faced and sweaty with their own lies, stinking of Old Spice and job-related stress, standing in their glowing yellow doorways, brandishing their Seikos and waving at the clock all over in the kitchen sink. I swear, can't you guys tell the time? Didn't happen anymore. Pizza delivery is a major industry, a managed industry. People went to Cosa Nostra Pizza University for 4 years just to learn it. came indoors unable to write an English sentence from Abikaza, Rwanda, Guantaro, sorry, I'm bad with pronunciation, South Jersey, and came out knowing more about pizza than a Bedouin knows about sand. They had studied this problem, graphed the frequency of doorway delivery time disputes, wired the early deliverators to record, then analyze the debating tactics, the voice stress histograms, the distinctive grammatical structures employed by white middle-class Type A burbclave occupants who, against all logic, had decided that this was the one place to make their personal Casterian stand against all that was stale and deadening in their lives. They were going to lie or delude themselves about the time of their phone call and get themselves a free pizza. No, they deserved a free pizza, along with their life, liberty, and pursuit of whatever. It was fucking inalienable. Sent psychologists out to these people's houses to give them a free TV set to submit to an anonymous interview, hooked them to polygraphs, studied their brainwaves, showed them choppy, inexplicable movies of porn queens and late-night car crashes and Sammy Davis Jr., put them in sweet-smelling, mauve-walled rooms, and asked them questions about ethics so perplexing that even a Jesuit couldn't respond without committing a venial sin. The analysts at Casa Nostra Pizza University concluded that it was just human nature and you couldn't fix it, and so they went for the quick and cheap technical fix: smart boxes. The pizza box is a plastic carapace now, corrugated for stiffness, a little LED readout glowing on the side, telling the deliverator how many trade imbalance producing minutes have ticked away since the fateful phone call. There are chips and stuff in there. The pizzas rest, a short stack of them, in slots behind the deliverator's head. Each pizza glides into a slot like a circuit board into a computer, clicks into place as a smart box interfaces with an onboard system of the deliverator's car. The address of the caller has already been inferred from his phone number and poured into the smart box's built-in RAM. From there, it is communicated to the car, which computes and projects the optimal route on a heads-up display, a glowing colored map traced out against the windshield so that the deliverator does not even have to glance down. If the 30-minute deadline expires, news of the disaster is flashed to Casa Nostra Pizza headquarters and relayed from there to Uncle Enzo himself, the Sicilian Colonel Sanders, the Andy Griffith of Bensonhurst, and the straight razor swinging figment of many a deliverator's nightmares, the capo and prime figurehead of Cosa Nostra Pizza Incorporated, who will be on the phone to the customer within 5 minutes, apologizing profusely. The next day, Uncle Enzo will land on the customer's yard in a jet helicopter and apologize some more and give him a free trip to Italy. All he has to do is sign a bunch of releases that make him a public figure and a spokesperson for Cosa Nostra Pizza and basically end his private life as he knows it. He will come away from the whole thing feeling that, somehow, he owes the Mafia a favor. The deliverator does not know for sure what happens to the driver in such cases, but he has heard some rumors. Most pizza deliveries happen in the evening hours, which Uncle Enzo considers to be his private time. And how would you feel if you had to interrupt your dinner with your family in order to call some obstreperous dork in a burbclave and grovel for a late fucking pizza? Uncle Enzo has not put 50 years serving his family and his country, so that at the age when most are playing golf and bobbing their granddaughters, he can get out of the bathtub dripping wet, lie down, and kiss the feet of some 16-year-old skate punk whose pepperoni was 31 minutes in coming. Oh God, it makes the deliverator breathe just a little shallower just to think of the idea. But he wouldn't drive for Casa Nostra Pizza any other way. You know why? Because there's something about having your life on the line. It's like being a kamikaze pilot. Your mind is clear. Other people, store clerks, burger flippers, software engineer, the whole vocabulary of meaningless jobs that make up life in America. Other people just rely on plain old competition. Better flip your burgers or debug your subroutines faster and better than your high school classmate 2 blocks down the strip is flipping or debugging, because we're in competition with those guys and people notice these things. What a fucking rat race that is. Casa Nostra Pizza doesn't have any competition. Competition goes against the Mafia ethic. You don't work harder because you're competing against some identical operation down the street. You work harder because everything is on the line. Your name, your honor, your family, your life. Those burger flippers might have better life expectancy, but what kind of life is it anyway? You have to ask yourself. That's why nobody, not even the Nipponese, can move pizzas faster than Casa Nostra. The deliverator is proud to wear the uniform, proud to drive the car, proud to march up the front walks of innumerable Burbclave homes, a grim vision in ninja black, pizza on his shoulder, red LED digits blazing proud numbers into the night, 1232, or 1515, or the occasional 2043. The deliberator is assigned to Cosa Nostra Pizza 3569 in the Valley. Southern California doesn't know whether to bustle or just to straight up strangle itself on the spot. Not enough roads for the number of people. Fairlands Incorporated is laying new ones all the time. Have to bulldoze lots of neighborhoods to do it. But those 70s and 80s developments exist to be bulldozed, right? No sidewalks, no schools, no nothing. Don't have their own police force, no immigration control. Undesirables can walk right in without being frisked or even harassed. Now a Burbclave, that's the place to live. A city-state with its own constitution, a border, laws, cops, everything. The deliberator was a corporal in the farms of Maryvale State Security Force for a while once. Got himself fired for pulling his sword on an acknowledged perp. Slid right through the fabric of the perp's shirt, gliding the flat of the blade along the base of his neck, and pinned him to a warped and bubbled expanse of vinyl siding on the wall of the house so that the the house that the perp was trying to break into. Thought it was a pretty righteous bust, but they fired him anyway because the perp turned out to be the son of a vice-chancellor on the farms of Maryvale. Oh, the weasels had an excuse. Said that a 36-inch samurai sword was not on their weapons protocol. Said that it had violated the SPAC, the Suspected Perpetrator Apprehension Code. Said that the perp had suffered psychological trauma. He was afraid of butter knives now. Had to spread his jelly with the back of a teaspoon. They said that he exposed them to liability. The deliberator had to borrow some money to pay for it. Had to borrow it from the mafia, in fact. So he's in their database now. Retinal patterns, DNA, voice graph, fingerprints, footprints, palm prints, wrist prints, every fucking part of the body that had wrinkles on it. Almost. Those bastards rolled it in ink and made a print and digitized it in their computer. But it's their money. Sure are careful about loaning it out. And when he applied for the deliberator job, they were happy to take him because they knew him. When he got the loan, he had to deal personally with the assistant vice capo of the Valley, who later recommended him for the deliberator job. So it was like being in a family, a really scary, twisted, abusive family. Cosa Nostra Pizza 3569 is on Vista Road, just down from Kings Park Mall. Vista Road used to belong to the state of California and is now called Fairlanes Incorporated, RTE CSV-5. Its main competition, its main competition used to be U.S. Highway and is now called Cruiseways Incorporated, RTE Cal 12. Further up the valley, the two competing highways actually cross. Once there had been bitter disputes, the intersection closed by sporadic sniper fire. Finally, a big developer bought the entire intersection and turned it into a drive-through mall. Now the roads just feed into a parking system. Not a lot, not a ramp, but a system, and lose their identity. Getting through the intersection involves tracing paths through the parking system, many braided filaments of direction like the Ho Chi Minh Trail. CSV5 has better throughput, but Cal 12 has better pavement. That is typical. Fairlane's roads emphasize getting you there for Type A drivers, and cruiseways emphasize the enjoyment of the ride for Type B drivers. The deliberator is a Type A driver with rabies. He is zeroing in on his home base, Cosa Nostra Pizza 3569, cranking up the left lane of the CSV5 at 120 kilometers. His car is an invisible black lozenge of just a dark place that reflects a tunnel of franchise signs, the low glow. A row of orange lights burbles and churns across the front, where the grille would be if this were an air-breathing car. The orange light looks like a gasoline fire. It comes through people's rear mirrors and bounces off their It comes in through people's rear windows, bounces off their rear view mirrors, projects fiery masks across their eyes, and reaches into their subconscious and unearths terrible fears of being pinned fully conscious under a detonating gas tank. Makes them want to pull over and let the deliberator overtake them in his black chariot of pepperoni fire. The low glow, overheard, marking out CSV5 in twin contrails, is a body of electrical light made of innumerable cells, each cell designed in Manhattan by imagiers who make more for designing a single logo than a deliberator will make in his entire lifetime. Despite their efforts to stand out, they all smear together, especially at 120 kilometers per hour. Still, it's easy to see Cosa Nostra Pizza 3569 because of the billboard, which is wide and tall, even by current inflated standards. In fact, the squat franchise itself looks nothing like more than a low-slung base for a great aramid fiber pillars and thrust the billboard up into the trademark firmament. Marca registrada, baby. The billboard is a chestnut, not a figment of some fleeting mafia promotional campaign. It is a statement, a monument built to endure. Simple and dignified. It shows Uncle Enzo in one of his spiffy Italian suits. The pinstripes glint and flex like sinews. The pocket square is luminous. The hair is perfect, slicked back with something that never comes off. Each strand cut off straight and square at the end by Uncle Enzo's cousin, Art the barber, who runs the second largest chain of low-end haircutting establishments in the world. Uncle Enzo was standing there, not exactly smiling, an avuncular glint in his eye for sure, not posing like a model, but standing there like your uncle would. It says, "The Mafia. You got a friend in the family." Paid for by the Our Thing Foundation. The billboard serves as the deliberator's pole star. He knows that when he gets to the place on CSV5 where the bottom corner of the billboard is obscured by the pseudo-Gothic stained glass arches of the local Reverend Wayne's Pearly Gates franchise, it's time for him to get over into the right lanes where the retards in the bimbo boxes poke along, random, indecisive, looking at each passing franchise's driveway like they don't know it's a promise or a threat. He cuts off a bimbo box, a family minivan, veers past the buy and fly that is next door, and pulls into Cosa Nostra Pizza 3569. Those big fat contact patches complain, squeal a little bit, but they hold on to the patented Fairlanes Incorporated high-traction pavement and guide him into the chute. No other deliverators are waiting in the chute. That's good. That means high turnover for him. Fast action, keep moving that za. As he scrunches to a stop, the electromechanical hatch on the flank of his car is already opening to reveal his empty pizza slots. The door clicking and folding back in on itself like the wing of a beetle. The slots are waiting for hot pizza. And waiting. The deliberator honks his horn. This is not a nominal outcome. Window slides open. That should never happen. You can look at a 3-ring binder from Cosa Nostra Pizza University, cross-reference the citation for window, chute, dispatchers, and it will give you all the procedures for that window, and it should never be open unless something has gone wrong. The window slides open and, you sitting down, smoke comes out of it. The deliberator hears a discordant beetling over the metal hurricane of his sound system and realizes that it's a smoke alarm coming from inside the franchise. Mute button on the stereo. Oppressive silence. His eardrums uncringe. The window is buzzing with the cry of the smoke alarm. The car idles, waiting. The hatch has been open too long. Atmospheric pollutants are congealing on the electrical contacts on the back of the pizza slots. He'll have to clean them ahead of schedule. Everything is going exactly the way it shouldn't in the 3-ring binder that spells out all the rhythms of the pizza universe. Inside, a football-shaped Azkaban man is running to and fro, holding a 3-ring binder open, using his spare tire as a ledge to keep it from collapsing shut. He runs with the gait of a man carrying an egg on a spoon. He's shouting an Azkaban dialect, and the people who run Cosa Nostra pizza franchises in this part of the valley are Azkaban immigrants. It does not look like a serious fire. The deliberator saw a real fire once at the Arms of Maryvale, and you couldn't see anything for the smoke. That's all it was. Smoke. Bubbling out of nowhere. Occasional flashes of orange light down at the bottom, like heat lightning in tall clouds. This is not that kind of fire. It is the kind of fire that just barely puts out enough smoke to detonate the smoke alarms, and he is losing his time for this shit. The deliberator holds the horn button down. The Azkaban manager comes to the window. He is supposed to use the intercom to talk to drivers. He could say anything that he wanted, and it would be piped straight into the deliberator's car. But no, he has to talk face to face, like the deliberator's some kind of fucking ox cart driver. He is red-faced, sweating, and his eyes roll as he tries to think of the English words. "A fire. Little one," he says. The deliberator says nothing, because he knows that all of this is going onto videotape. The tape is being pipelined, as it happens, to Cosa Nostra Pizza University, where it will be analyzed in the Pizza Management Science Laboratory. It will be shown to Pizza University students, perhaps the very students who will replace this man when he gets fired, as a textbook example of how to screw up your life. New employee. Put his dinner in the microwave. Had foil in it. Boom, the manager says. Abkhazia has been part of the Soviet fucking Union. A new immigrant from Abkhazia trying to operate a microwave was like a deep sea tube worm doing brain surgery. Where did they get these guys? Weren't there any Americans who could just bake one fucking pizza? Just give me one pie, the deliberator says. Talking about pie snaps the guy into the current century. He gets a grip. He slams the window shut, strangling the relentless keening of the smoke alarm. An Ipanese robot arm shoves the pizza out and into the top slot. The hatch folds shut to protect it. As the deliberator is pulling out of the chute, building up speed, checking the address that is flashed across his windshield, deciding whether to turn right or left, it happens. His stereo cuts out again, on command of the onboard system. A cockpit light goes red. Red! A repetitive buzzer begins to sound. The LED readout on his windshield, which echoes the one on the pizza box, flashes up. 20. They have just given the deliberator a 20-minute-old pizza. He checks the address. It's 12 miles away. And that's the end of the first chapter. If you want to know how the pizza delivery goes, you're going to have to buy the book. So yeah, that is obviously, I know there's like a couple of lines in there which probably were acceptable in the 90s and probably are very not acceptable now, but that is definitely a very fun, cyberpunk story. I did give this to Johnny Big Time. He overall liked it, but he did think the book sagged in the middle. So if you're not crazy about, I don't know, mythology or long passages, you should probably, get a bit of a, should probably give you a bit of a heads up on that. But frankly, I think it's a fun book. And again, just a reminder for those of you who might have missed the title, it is Snow Crash by Neil Stephenson. And if you want more of the pizza delivery, maybe we could just do like a reading somewhere else another time. But I think I need to wrap up for tonight. And I've actually got a few people I can host. So Johnny Big Time is he's actually playing Elden Ring right now. I'll give him a shout out there. He might be wrapping up reasonably soon though. So there's a couple of other people who, yeah, no problem. I don't know. That's probably not, like, obviously I have a particular style. I'm probably better for like Orwell and Charles Dickens than I am Snow Crash, but I'm glad you all enjoyed that. So again, Johnny Big Time's doing Elden Ring right now. The Wolf Arok is continuing his retro streams. I think he's still doing his Xbox challenge, so he's playing MotoGP. But I do see that Outworld is currently playing Mortal Kombat Arcade. He's been streaming a little bit more regularly lately, so I am going to send you off. Oh, actually, sorry. I also wanted to take a look and see who's doing Terra Invicta. I've been burned a few times by that because the people who I host tend not to be... very good hosts. So I think I am going to send it off to Outworld tonight. Actually, doesn't seem like there's that many people streaming Terra Invicta anyway. But yeah, Outworld's currently playing Mortal Kombat. He's, I think, just recently got another world record on one of these games. But if Mortal Kombat is not your usual thing, I strongly recommend Johnny Big Time or the Wolf Arok. As for me, I'm going to be back Wednesday. I'm probably going to do... it'd be neat to do Godless, but I think I might actually do some more Industries of Titan because it actually seems like there's some real interest in that. So, as always, I will post what I'm going to be playing on Twitter as soon as I know. And then Friday, probably Against the Storm, so another Hooded Horse game, but we can figure this all out. And if you want more Snow Crash in the future, just let me know, and I'll find a better way than just pinning that to the end of... the Terra Invicta streams. But anyways, have a good night. Please enjoy Outworld. Thank you everybody for watching. And I should maybe have said Terra Invicta most likely next Monday, but I'll figure out what I'm doing with that playthrough as time goes by. Anyways, have a good one, guys. Have a good night.